Master, the other party's target should be the spirit boat. Do you want to control them in advance? No need. Where are they now? They have dispersed. Only the strongest one, Wang Boyan, went to the spirit boat maintenance area alone. The others were wandering around in other places. The leader of Qingshan sect said lightly, keep an eye on them, but don't do anything. I will handle it myself. Master, this person is not very strong. You don't need to do it yourself, right? Qingshan Zhenren waved his hand. Since the other party dares to come, and is coming for the spirit boat, he must have a trump card in his hand, which may be a third-level talisman or other means. For safety reasons, it is better for me to handle it myself. Even if the other party is not strong, the experienced master of Qingshan sect, the contemporary Qingshan Zhenren, still chooses to treat this matter in a cautious way. At the same time, he also understands that since the other party dares to send people here, and still has the idea of destroying spiritual cultivation, then the means must not be simple. There is a great possibility that it is enough to rival the strength of Zifu, so it is not too careful. Moreover, he knew deeply how serious the consequences would be once the third-order giant spirit boat was destroyed. To put it mildly, there was actually no impact. After all, the spirit boat was now in a state of destruction and could not be used for a long time. But to put it seriously, it would destroy a large part of the foundation of Qingshan sect. The lifespan of a purple mansion strongman was only 500 years, but a third-order spirit boat could be used for 1,000 years, which was more suitable as a heritage of the sect. Moreover, if there was a spirit boat, they could continue to prolong the wartime until the warship was completely repaired, and then give the Wang and Tang families a fatal blow. If there was no spirit boat, the Purple Mansion strongmen on both sides would be completely equal, and Qingshan sect would have no advantage. If the two sides really met in close combat, one side would probably be completely destroyed. Although Qingshan sect was confident in its own strength, it absolutely did not want to fall into such a situation. Otherwise, it was very likely that Qingshan sect would completely decline in the siege like Xuanian sect 1,000 years ago. Therefore, this giant spirit boat must be taken very seriously. Even after sitting in the hall for a while, the leader of Qingshan sect still felt uneasy, so he immediately went to the area where the spirit boat was located and stationed there at any time. And he monitored Wang Boyan's movements at all times to prevent him from making any unexpected moves. As for the other 5 people, they also sent people to monitor them to prevent them from having other plans. However, the danger of the other 5 people was obviously not as great as Wang Boyan, who was just wandering around the sect. There was even one person who got lost inside Qingshan sect, but there was nothing he could do about it. After all, it was his first time to come to Qingshan sect, and it was normal that he didn't know the internal structure. What's even more ridiculous is that after this person got lost, he actually found the Qingshan sect monk who was following him, and then asked where the Sutra pavilion was. In this regard, the Qingshan sect monk who was monitoring him at any time was also helpless. His face was green, and he always felt that the other party's behavior was somewhat presumptuous. However, this also made Qingshan sect relax its vigilance slightly, just monitoring a few people at any time, and did not alarm the snake. The role of these people is actually to assist Wang Boyan, to help him divert attention and facilitate the completion of the task. At least, the 5 of them think so, and they have been diligently and conscientiously completing their tasks. The target of everyone's attention, Wang Boyan, has passed through countless secret paths and is constantly approaching the area where the third-level spirit boat is located. Seeing Wang Boyan's route of action, the leader of Qingshan sect couldn't help but be amazed. There are many secret roads that even he doesn't know. If there is really no preparation, and this person is allowed to approach the third-level spirit boat, I am afraid he will really succeed. Especially at the end, Wang Boyan hid directly in a mountain and drilled from an extremely small crack to the bottom of the spirit boat. This crack is almost only half a person wide. It is a crack formed by the natural movement of the mountain. It has almost never been discovered by anyone, but I don't know how Wang Boyan knew it. Moreover, as soon as he approached the spirit boat, even though he did not attract anyone's attention, Wang Boyan immediately used a third-level concealment talisman to prevent himself from being discovered. The third-level talisman is much more valuable than imagined, but it was used so easily. Seeing this situation, the leader of Qingshan sect did not dare to be careless and went to the bottom of the spirit boat at the first time, intending to deal with this person in advance. This person is only a cultivator in the middle stage of foundation building. How can he have the confidence to destroy the third-level spirit boat? Even if the spirit boat is already damaged, it is definitely not something he can destroy. Since he is here, it means that his trump card is definitely not his own strength, but other powerful talismans or magic tools. Therefore, the leader of Qingshan sect dare not let him get close easily, otherwise if he really lets him use talismans, especially powerful disposable magic tools, it is really possible to completely destroy the spirit boat. Wang Boyan was sweating profusely, looking at the deep tunnel ahead with sharp eyes, moving forward step by step, with hidden spiritual patterns wrapped around his body, almost minimizing the movement. With a weak sense, I knew that I had entered the bottom of the spiritual boat. There are still a few steps to go. As long as this plan is completed, it will definitely cause heavy losses to Qingshan sect. Wang Boyan's eyes showed some determination, and his faith supported him to complete this arduous task. Breaking through the rubble in front of him all the way, he kept approaching the direction of the spirit boat, getting closer and closer to the epidemic, and only one step away from success. But in the next moment, as the true chi broke through the stone in front, there was a sudden snapping sound. Wang Boyan was stunned, and his eyes turned suddenly to look, only to see a hole suddenly appeared in front of him, which seemed to be a cave. Hey, why is there a hole here? Is it a naturally formed cave? But he didn't care too much, and still squeezed forward, and took the last step into this small cave. But before he could stand firm, a calm voice floated in the darkness. Wang Family Jr., welcome to my Qingshan sect. In an instant, the hair on his body stood up. Wang Boyan felt his body stiff and hurriedly stepped back, but the next moment his shoulder was grabbed by a pair of dry hands and pressed against the stone. Even though he mobilized all his chi and used all his strength to resist, it was useless. He only felt his face pressed into the mud, and sand entered his nose, making it difficult for him to breathe. Qingshan, Zhenren. After trying his best to spit out 4 words, Wang Boyan stared at the old man in front of him, with a hint of despair in his eyes. A veteran Zifu powerhouse, a person at the peak of Zifu's early stage, known as Qingshan Zhenren, and the strongest person in the Qingshan sect. Master Qingshan stood with his hands behind his back and put one hand on Wang Boyan's face. He always looked very calm. Junior of the Wang family, I will give you a chance to live. Use the God-taming curse and become a member of my Qingshan sect. I will spare your life. The cold words floated in his ears, like the whispers of demons from hell, making Wang Boyan's body tremble continuously. Okay, then let me go first. Wang Boyan answered with almost no hesitation. Master Qingshan looked calmly and said calmly, I hope you won't play any tricks, otherwise I will make your death very unpleasant. My life is in your hands. Is it possible that I can really let myself die here for the sake of the family? I still understand this truth. If someone doesn't do it for himself, heaven and earth will kill him. Master Qingshan let go slightly, as if he also wanted to see what this man's attitude was. However, when the power in his hand loosened slightly, Wang Boyan quickly took out a talisman from the shopping bag as quickly as possible and quickly input his energy. But how fast did the Zifu monks react? The moment he took action, Master Qingshan immediately reacted and snorted with cold eyes. Then he immediately took action, and the powerful junchi was like a sharp magic weapon, directly slashing the arm of Wang Boyan. Click! The arm broke in response, followed by a painful howl, and the severed hand flew out along with the talisman in his hand. Then prepare it and take it into your hands. Junior, you seem to be a little dishonest. The gloomy words echoed in his ears. Wang Boyan was lying on the ground with a ferocious face, covering his completely broken right hand. The bright red flesh and blood meridians were exposed, and blood continued to flow out. It wasn't until he attached the junchi to the wound and the pain gradually eased that he slowly spoke. Haha, old guy from Qingshan sect, are you too naive? Do you dare to believe what I say? Surrender to you Qingshan sect. Unless I let you, your mother will marry me and let me be your Qingshan sect's supreme elder. Bastard. Master Qingshan's calm eyes showed a trace of anger. With one palm strike, it hit the man's chest, causing his entire chest to collapse and blood spurting out from his mouth. However, Master Qingshan is already over 100 years old after all, so the depth of the city will not be provoked by these few words. He glanced at this person coldly, and then looked at the talisman he snatched from his hand. However, when he saw the talisman for the first time, his expression changed slightly, and he murmured to himself, second-level communication talisman. It's not an attack talisman. It's not a self-rescue escape talisman. It is actually the most common and most unexpected communication talisman. But that's exactly what happened. When he saw a communication talisman, Qingshan's hair stood on end, and he had a bad premonition in his heart. At such a juncture, the other party took out a communication talisman. What does this mean? At least it means that the current, Wang Boyan, does not have a powerful third-level talisman. If he does not have a third-level talisman, how can he destroy the spirit boat? This person didn't come here with the intention of destroying the third-level talisman. For a moment, such an idea appeared in Master Qingshan's mind, and he felt his head explode. He grabbed the limp, Wang Boyan, with a cold voice. What is your purpose? You are holding a second-level communication talisman to make a fool of yourself. Wang Boyan kept silent and just looked at Master Qingshan coldly. Master Qingshan snorted coldly, then immediately took out the communication stone and ordered, Qingfeng, how are the other people doing? Where are they? ... Control them immediately, check the situation around the sect, and don't let go of any suspicious people. Okay, senior brother. Bang! Before he could finish his words, a huge roar rang through his ears, and the whole world seemed to be shaking. The roar did not come from the communication stone, but came directly from outside the cave. It seemed to be far away, but it spread over in an instant, so one can imagine how powerful it was. The moment he felt the breath, Qingshan Zhenren's pupils immediately contracted, his expression changed drastically, and he already realized that something was wrong. Without any further hesitation, a rope-binding magic weapon was thrown out, directly tying Wang Boyan, and then quickly left the bottom and rushed to the place where the explosion came from. But after just a brief feeling, Master Qingshan turned pale because at the same time, a huge explosion occurred in a certain area at the same time. 5 people are scattered outside. 5 huge explosions. He would never believe it if there was no connection. At the same time, a trace of regret suddenly appeared in my heart. Although I knew that the other party was evil, I didn't take action to solve it immediately. It was really too careless to let the other party wander around the sect. He looked at the 5 smoke-filled areas, namely the Sutra Pavilion, the Treasure House, the Inner Disciple Area, the Weapon Refining Workshop, and the Talisman Pavilion. They are all the most important areas of the sect. And feeling the breath of the explosion, Master Qingshan gritted his teeth and spit out 3 words one by one: Heaven, Thunder, Sun. Third-level magic weapon, Tianlizi. This is not an unfamiliar name, at least many forces in the Purple Mansion know this magical weapon. However, there are only a handful of weapon refiners who can actually refine this kind of magic weapon. The refining method is very complicated, requiring the collection of special lightning and the use of secret methods to refine it into the magic weapon. What's even more frightening is that Tianlizi can only be used once, and all the thunders in it burst out in an instant. The power is so terrifying that even the strong men of Zifu cannot resist it. Even many third-level formations will be directly blown up by this terrifying magic weapon. The consequences of this level of magic weapon being blown up in the most important areas of Qingshan sect can be imagined. Looking at the billowing smoke and dust in the distance, with the howling and crying of the sect's address, Qingshan Zhenren was completely ignited with anger. Asshole! Boom! The terrifying true energy gushed out. Bang! The condensed magic spell directly bombarded Wang Boyan's body, beating the Wang family cultivator to death. At this moment, how could he not understand the intention of the Wang family? He naturally believed that the Wang family's goal must be to destroy the third-level giant spirit boat, and the other 5 people were just cannon fodder to attract attention, so all attention was placed on Wang Boyan. But in fact, Wang Boyan was still the cannon fodder that really attracted everyone's attention, and he did not carry any powerful talismans or magic weapons on his body. Instead, the other 5 people were the real killers. What's even more terrifying is that the Wang family seems to have completely eliminated the possibility of repairing the spirit boat in another way. Because the 5 explosion areas cover the areas of refining weapons and talismans. The precious weapon refiners and talisman masters are all inside, and under the attack of the third-level magic weapon Tianlizi, their fate is already determined. Even if there is formation protection, these weapon refiners and talisman masters in the foundation building stage will be disabled or disabled. Then the rest of the repair work on the spirit boat will naturally come to a standstill. Moreover, there are 3 places such as the Sutra Pavilion, the Treasure House, and the Inner Disciple Area, which are of great significance to Qingshan sect. Not only were the losses heavy, but in the case of a large number of casualties, the impact on morale was fatal. So in an instant, 2 supreme elders of the Qingshan sect came out of seclusion at the same time and flew towards the explosion area together, their faces extremely ugly. Qingshan, what happened? Master Qingshan's eyes were stern. The Wang family's beasts brought Tianlizi into the sect. With just these words, the expressions of the two Zifuki supreme elders changed drastically. One of the white-haired old men frowned and said, Qingshan, at such a critical moment, and you are personally in charge of the Qingshan sect, how can you let this happen? Master Qingshan had nothing to say. After opening his mouth several times, he said, I didn't think carefully about this matter. I will take responsibility for it myself. Master, don't worry. If something like this happens, how can we rest assured? Master Longyu was relatively calm, wearing a black robe, and calmly ordered, let's deal with the situation at hand first, and come to Qingju Ridge later to discuss it. After saying that, he walked directly towards the area where Tianlizi blew up. Nowadays, there are 3 masters of Zifu in the Qingshan sect, namely Master Qingshan, the leader, Master Longyu and Master Yunheng of the previous generation. Now they all show up, try to control the situation as much as possible, and block the entire Qingshan sect immediately to prevent the news from spreading. But how can such a big movement be easily covered up? Outside Qingshan sect, in a deep mountain and desolate ridge, 2 figures stood out of thin air. One person was wearing an ice blue robe, and the other was wearing a Qianyan cloud-patterned uniform. They were members of the Wang family of Qianyan Mountain and the Tian Puppet Tang family. Brother Wang, how did you come up with the plan? Instead of attacking the third order spirit boat, you directly attacked the weapon refiner and talisman master. And you actually found 6 dead soldiers. The man in ice blue robe said softly. He shook his fan lightly and said with a smile. The members of the Wang family had calm eyes, elegant and gentle looks, and said calmly, the third-level spirit boat must be heavily guarded, so how can it be destroyed so easily? And even if you try hard to get close to the spirit boat, it should be difficult to destroy it with the help of Tianlizi. After all, Lingzhou's defensive formation is also at the 3rd level. The man from the Tang family nodded thoughtfully and said in approval, Brother Wang is so calculating. He has actually considered these things a long time ago. He really has a perfect plan. You flatter me. The man from the Tang family turned his eyes, raised a smile at the corner of his mouth, and suddenly said, I think Brother Yuncheng is second to none among the Wang family's Yunzi generation. Not only is he extremely talented in cultivation, but he is also a monk with 2 spiritual roots, and he is also scheming in the city. Far more than the current head of the Wang family. I'm afraid Brother Tang is thinking too much. Wang Yuncheng glanced coldly at the person next to him, not affected by his words at all, and said, Second brother, as the contemporary head of the Wang family, is the unanimous decision of the family ancestors, so he is the best choice. It is not the turn of outsiders to say anything. Dao Si. After hearing this, the Tang family man's face changed slightly, and he couldn't help but sigh. Tisk, tisk, tisk. No wonder the Wang Jiayan generation is the most prosperous generation, and the reputation of the Wang family 5 clouds is even more resounding throughout the Qingshan sect area. Sure enough, well-deserved reputation. Quote. It is rare to have 5 talented people in a generation at the same time. It is even rarer for them to be brothers, support each other and be humble, and never confront each other with swords. Wang Yuncheng did not respond to the flattery. The reputation of Wang Jiayan's generation was indeed well known far and wide. It's just that many people don't know that what really makes the Wang family prosperous is its internal education and rules. There are almost no Wang family monks who use swords against each other. Even though Wang Yunli was not the most talented and strategist, he served as the head of the Wang family, but no one was dissatisfied. Instead, he tried his best to cooperate and assist. This situation is difficult to see in other families. Wang Yuncheng looked at the Qingshan sect in the distance indifferently, and after a long time he said, Let's go, the Qingshan sect will not give up and prepare for the war. Your Wang family.so hope to advance the war. Wang Yuncheng paused and said calmly, Only by starting the war immediately can our 2 families have a chance of winning, otherwise, we will definitely lose. The man from the Tang family frowned slightly and said, The Qingshan sect and our Zifu strongmen have the same number. Shouldn't they be evenly matched? Why is Brother Wang so unconfident? It's not that I'm not confident, it's that people need to be self-aware. Wang Yuncheng said, The Qingshan sect has been strong for thousands of years, and its strength has always been ordinary, but do you really think so? Isn't it true? Although the Qingshan sect is powerful, it is far less powerful than the Lingding sect, 5 elements sect, Qizyan family, right? The man from the Tang family asked with some confusion. Wang Yuncheng did not answer directly, but brought up another matter. Fellow Taoist Tang, why was the Xuanian sect suddenly destroyed back then, followed by the rapid rise of the Qingshan sect? Do you know the reason? Most of the Lingding sect and others have been inherited for more than 2 to 3,000 years and are powerful forces at the same level as the Xuanian sect. Why did they allow the Qingshan sect to rise and did not eliminate the Qingshan sect and annex the Qingshan sect's territory back then? Is it because they have good intentions? The Qingshan sect's strength on paper is far inferior to that of the Lingding sect. Why are they still so inextricably linked to the Lingding sect? Why don't the Lingding sect dare to destroy the Qingshan sect in one go? After several questions were asked, the man from the Tang family was stunned in place, frowning tightly, and he didn't come back to his senses for a long time. When he raised his head, Wang Yuncheng had already walked away. But these questions just now were completely engraved in his mind, and even when he thought carefully, he couldn't help but feel a chill on his back. It seems that Qingshan sect is far from as simple as it seems. But why would the Wang family take the initiative to provoke Qingshan sect and start this war? The man from the Tang family looked deep, and took all his thoughts into his heart, without saying anything more. Wang Yuncheng hurried back to the Wang family, but on the way, he quietly took out a communication talisman from his arms and burned it directly. Then, he took out a new communication talisman and sent a message to the head of the Wang family. Because the distance was too far, it was impossible to use ordinary communication stones, and he could only use communication talismans with better effects to convey the message. The message is as follows. Master, the mission was successfully completed, but Yunjin and 5 other family foundation building cultivators were unfortunately sacrificed. The work of comforting them has to be left to you, my second brother. From the beginning to the end, the 5 cultivators did not volunteer to participate in this mission, but were passively involved in it due to huge benefits. And the communication talisman that Wang Yuncheng threw away only had one sentence, Brother Chang, take action. The Wang family cultivator who pretended to be Wang Boyan did not send any information to the other 5 cultivators, but directly contacted Wang Yuncheng. In the end, Wang Yuncheng directly controlled the Tianlizi carried by the other 5 people. From the beginning to the end, this was a plan controlled by the Wang family. The other 5 dead men were just cannon fodder. Qianyan Mountain, Wang family. When Wang Yunli received the accurate information, a serious expression appeared on his face. The plan was indeed successful, but the war was far from over. On the contrary, this was just the beginning. Yuncheng is really ruthless. He actually used 5 heavenly thunder seeds to directly destroy most of Qingshan sect and completely destroyed the possibility of repairing the spirit boat. Moreover, without this group of weapon refiners and talisman masters, I am afraid that in the later battles, Qingshan sect will most likely fall into a disadvantage. At this moment, Wang Yunli's eyes showed a touch of joy. This sneak attack was a success. The sneak attack directly weakened the combat power of Qingshan sect to a large extent, allowing the Wang and Tang families to occupy a huge advantage in the early stage. At the same time, he couldn't help but feel fortunate that Donglan market was established. Almost all strategic resources, weapon refiners, alchemists, talisman masters, formation masters, and even important descendants of the Wang family were all moved to Donglan market. In this way, Wang's Qianyan Mountain and Tang's ancestral land can be used as a strategic location to prepare for the next war without any worries. However, before Wang Yunli could be happy for too long, news came from the front line again, which made his face change drastically. Qingshan sect started a war. It was both reasonable and unexpected. Qingshan sect was so angry after such a blow that they had no more hesitation and started the war. They had no scruples and no longer cared about the repair of the spirit boat. They also no longer cared about the Lingding sect behind them. They directly mobilized all their forces and began to approach the direction of the Wang family in Qianyan Mountain. The Purple Mansion strongmen led the team, and the foundation building strongmen formed a team and began to approach various small and medium-sized garrisons. In response to this situation, Wang Yunli was extremely cautious and informed the head of the Wang family, Wang Shangzong, of the matter as soon as possible to discuss how to deal with it next. Although he was nervous, he did not lose his composure. After all, Wang Yunli and Wang Shangzong knew about the attack on the Qingshan sect and agreed to it personally. What would be the consequences of doing this? Would it arouse the anger of the Qingshan sect? They knew it very well in their hearts. After all, they naturally expected this result. However, even after suffering such a huge loss, the Qingshan sect is still stronger than the Wang family and the Tang family. This is an indisputable fact. In terms of the Purple Mansion combat power, although the two sides have the same number and both have 3 Purple Mansion masters, there is still a huge gap in strength. The three Purple Mansion masters of the Qingshan sect have all practiced in the Purple Mansion realm for dozens or hundreds of years, and their strength is also top-notch in the early stage of the Purple Mansion. However, whether it is Wang Xiongzong, the head of the Wang family, or Tang Yuanjun, the head of the Tang family, who broke through the Purple Mansion realm only a dozen years ago, it is highly likely that they are not opponents in a one-on-one fight. Not to mention that the Purple Ring Union King has just broken through not long ago, and his strength is relatively weaker. If you just hold the pressure and resist the Purple Mansion masters of the Qingshan sect on the front battlefield, you may be able to barely hold it. But if you want to fight to the death, then they will definitely lose, so you must be extremely careful. At the level of foundation building masters, the Qianyanshan Wang family and the Tang family are also not dominant. The thousand-year heritage of Qingshan sect is not a joke. There are far more foundation building forces that have joined them than those that have joined the Wang and Tang families. Conservative estimates show that at least nearly 50 foundation building forces have chosen to join Qingshan sect. And among these forces, many are powerful forces with rich heritage, strong strength, and a long history, so the number of foundation building masters must be greater. There are only about 40 foundation building forces that have joined the Wang and Tang families, and most of them are not very strong. Many of them are emerging forces like Wugyufang City. This is normal. After all, from a geographical point of view, Qingshan sect occupies the middle area of the entire Qingshan sect area, which is the most prosperous area. Many old and powerful forces are also gathered there. The area where the Wang and Tang families are located is close to the eastern edge, so naturally most of them are weak or have just been established. However, the Wang and Tang families also have an advantage, that is, there are many powerful independent cultivators who have joined them, allowing them to barely make up for the lack of foundation building masters. Compared with the combat power of both sides, even if Qingshan sect does not have a spirit boat, it still has an absolute advantage. Patriarch, what should we do next? Wang Yunli asked in a deep voice. Wang Xiongzong did not give any suggestions, but stroked his beard and said, "You are the current head of the Wang family. You are responsible for the war. Don't you have any arrangements in your mind?" Wang Yunli was stunned, smiled bitterly and said, "No matter what arrangements I have, it is still up to you to decide. After all, this matter is related to the inheritance of the Wang family. You have to be careful. For a family, the responsibilities of the head of the family and the head of the clan are different. The head of the family is more responsible for managing the affairs of the current family, including livelihood, business, war, and other aspects. He is the most powerful person. The head of the clan is generally the most powerful cultivator in the family. He does not manage the trivial matters of the family, but puts more attention on cultivation. Only when it is related to the survival of the family will he come forward to solve it." However, Wang Xiongzong gave Wang Yunli enough trust and said calmly, "Just make the arrangements. I will listen to your advice. The Wang family cannot be supported by our older generation all the time. You, the young generation, should also take responsibility." Wang Yunli nodded slightly, thought for a while and said, "If the Qingshan sect takes action in anger, it will definitely directly trigger the Purple Mansion War. This requires you, the clan leader, to worry about it." Wang Xiongzong nodded and asked with a little testing, "I know, what do you think I need to do?" "Clan leader, you only need to defend. With the third-level formation of Qianyan Mountain, and with the cooperation of Senior Zuan Union Wang, you can completely resist the strong men of the Qingshan sect and block the first wave of attacks. The opponent's momentum will inevitably decline." Quote. "However, I suggest that other forces around Qianyan Mountain retreat temporarily to prevent the Qingshan sect's strong men from getting angry and attacking the foundation building cultivators, thus causing losses. After the Qingshan sect's Purple Mansion strong men retreat, you, the clan leader, can leave Qianyan Mountain directly and hide in a secret place. Try to hide your position as much as possible. Qianyan Mountain can be guarded by the Purple Ring Union King alone. This will make the other party afraid to act rashly. As for the foundation building battlefield, you don't need to worry about it, team leader. I am fully responsible. Although I can't guarantee victory, I can at least withstand the offensive." Quote. Hearing Wang Yunli's eloquent talk, a hint of approval appeared in the old man's eyes, and he nodded with satisfaction. The layout of the Wang family patriarch took into account many aspects of the problem, and he also had a very clear understanding of the situation. He did not panic because of the opponent's strength. "Yes, it seems that you, the head of the Wang family, made the right choice." Wang Yunli smiled and said, "The clan leader has given you a compliment. If Yun Cheng is allowed to serve as the head of the Wang family, he may be even better with his wisdom. Wang Xiangzong shook his head and praised without hesitation. Yun Cheng is indeed smart, but he lacks the overall situation, the responsibility and vision of a leader. It is not just that you have brains that can serve as the head of the family. You are more powerful than him suitable. The patriarch deserves a reward. No need to say more, you should make arrangements as soon as possible. Now that the Qingshan sect is angry, it will be very fast. You should make arrangements as soon as possible, mobilize various resources, and be prepared. Spirit Palace. Zhou Daocheng has lived a peaceful life for several months, and has been learning how to arrange the two formations, and finally achieved some results. When he just walked out of the house, he saw monks from the Wang family coming and going in a hurry, and he couldn't help but be curious. He grabbed one person and asked, "How are things going lately? Why do I see you coming and going?" The Wang family monk who was pulled directly said, "Senior, I don't know." The Wang family successfully attacked the Qingshan sect. The Qingshan sect became angry and sent a large number of strong men to besiege them. The front line is in urgent need of elixirs, magic weapons, talismans, and formations. They are now in the process of attacking. Emergency redeployment. Zhou Daocheng raised his eyebrows. He didn't expect that such a big thing would happen within a few months, faster than he imagined. Before he could think about it, he saw Wang Yun's coming from a distance, and Zhou Daocheng hurriedly saluted. Wang Yun's nodded slightly and asked, "Fellow Taoist Zhou, the front line is in urgent need of various formations. In the past few months, have you refined the formations? Or are there any formations that you have saved before?" Hearing this, Zhou Daocheng frowned slightly and replied, "Time is too tight. We haven't refined the formation yet. It will take a few months." Hearing this, Wang Yun's also looked ugly. Of course, he was not targeting Zhou Daocheng. After all, he was refining the second-level formation, so the speed was naturally not that fast. His face was ugly, but that was because the family was pressing hard. As one of the leaders of the Formation Palace, he had to provide a batch of formations as soon as possible, otherwise it would be difficult for him to answer the family leader's questions. Wang Yun's patted Zhou Daocheng on the shoulder, without saying anything more, and just said, "The demand for formations will be greater and greater in the future. Fellow Taoist, please refine a batch of formations as much as possible, so as to alleviate the urgent need." "Okay, I'll step up." Zhou Daocheng responded directly. He came here to earn contribution points, so naturally he needed to refine more formations. This matter was completely in line with his interests. So without resting for too long, Zhou Daocheng entered the retreat state again and began to refine the formation. After he left, Tang Yuanlin came from a distance with cold eyes, looked at Wang Yun's indifferently, and said, "The higher-ups have requested 30 sets of second-level arrays. Is Wang Daoyu ready?" Wang Yun's frowned and said, "How can these second-level formation mages refine 30 sets of second-level formation discs in just a few months? Haha, this has nothing to do with me. I have prepared 15 sets of second-level formations. You will be responsible for the remaining half. If you cannot use them, you will be responsible for them." Wang Yun's did not refute, but just glanced at the array disc in Tang Yuanlin's hand, and his expression changed slightly. "I couldn't help but said, bloodthirsty formation. Are you going to use this formation to provide it to the front line?" Tang Yuanlin didn't care very much and sneered calmly, "Is there any problem? Even among the second-level low-grade formations, the intensity of the bloodthirsty formation is not low. It should meet the requirements no matter what." Wang Yun's face didn't look good, and he said coldly, "Don't you know the characteristics of this formation?" "Of course it's clear." Tang Yuanlin stroked his beard and said nonchalantly, "The formation can be driven by blood, which can stimulate the potential of the monks to a certain extent, thus having stronger combat power. If it can be used together with the bloodthirsty pill, the effect it should be better. You still dare to mention the bloodthirsty pill? If the two are used together, I'm afraid that ordinary foundation building monks will be depleted of energy and blood, exhausted, and their cultivation level may even drop drastically after using it a few times, right?" Wang Yun said coldly. Bloodthirsty formations and bloodthirsty pills are uncommon formations and elixirs in the ordinary market, and even if they appear, few monks will actually choose to use them. Many monks even do not recognize this unique formation and elixirs. The side effects of this formation are far more serious than what Tang Yuanlin said. It is equivalent to using violent means to forcibly squeeze the potential of the monks. Generally, the blood essence of monsters is incorporated into the formation, and the blood essence of monsters is used to stimulate the human body, thereby stimulating and squeezing the blood of the monks and gaining stronger cultivation strength. If you are a monk in the chi refining stage, fighting in the second level bloodthirsty formation, you can indeed greatly increase your strength in a short period of time, and even kill enemies across one or two small realms. But once the time is too long, it is likely to consume the original essence and blood in the body, leading to serious damage to the cultivation level, and even death is common. For those who are strong in foundation building, it will be relatively better, but if used multiple times, it may damage the foundation. Especially in high-intensity battles, the damage to the body will be greater. The effect of the bloodthirsty pill is actually similar. It is to stimulate the potential in the monk's body and gain powerful power in a short period of time. If the two are used together, the effect will inevitably be better, but the damage to the body will be greater. After a few uses, the cultivation level will regress and the vitality will be seriously damaged. Ordinary sect forces, if it were not a matter of life and death, would never be able to use this foundation-breaking formation at will. That's why Wang Yun's face turned so ugly after seeing this formation. Tang Yuanlin didn't care at all and said, "Haha, why do you have to be so soft-hearted, Brother Wang? The purpose of war is to win. As long as this formation is powerful enough, it is a good formation. You should think carefully about how to come up with 15 sets of second-level formations." Wang Yun's face was ashen, and he remained unmoved. "Even if I can't come up with 15 sets of formations, I will definitely not use the bloodthirsty formation to make up the number. Do you really think this war will end in a short time? Once the foundation of the frontline cultivators is damaged, how can the future war be maintained? Haha, that's not my business. Naturally, there are alchemists to nourish their bodies." After speaking, Tang Yuanlin turned around and left. However, Wang Yun still said in a cold voice, "Leave your broken formation to your Tang family's men. If you dare to use it on my family, don't blame me for turning my back on you. Haha, then you Wang family's men better not use the formation I provide. I couldn't ask for more." Wang Yun sighed deeply until Tang Yuanlin walked away. Compared with the Tang family's unscrupulous means, the Wang family was obviously more stable. Perhaps, they can really ignore the foundation-building monks who have taken refuge in them, just like the 5 cannon fodder who went to Qingshan sect before, they can easily take advantage of them. However, the prerequisite for giving up is that they can exert value. Abandoning at will or deliberately persecuting the foundation-building experts under their command is definitely not what they are willing to do. After all, the foundation-building battlefield still needs foundation-building experts from all forces to hold it. Zhou Daocheng stood in the house, looking at the scene happening outside, his expression fluctuating slightly. Secretly, it was a good thing that he hugged the Wang family's thighs. If he had taken refuge with the Tang family, he would have been completely cheated. He also recognizes this formation. It is a kind of formation that is fishing in the lake and does not conform to the concept of formation. Even in his formation book, the number of such formations is very small. It is obviously not taken seriously by others, and it is despised by many formation masters. Once the bloodthirsty formation is used on a large scale on the front line, although the combat power will soar in a short period of time, once the time is delayed, the disadvantages will inevitably be exposed. By then, the front line will have greater demand for the formation. The orchid chi condensing formation, and the value of Kuiwei vitality formation, will also increase. Quote. Zhou Daocheng thought silently and quickly immersed himself in the layout of the formation. The icing on the cake is far less than providing help in times of need. Providing some destructive formations now is of little significance. After all, both sides were well prepared for the early war. The Wang and Tang families had them, and the Qingshan sect also had them. The gap was not huge. What really determines the outcome is which side can stably maintain its combat power in the later stages and establish an advantage while stabilizing the battle situation. The orchid chi condensation formation and Kuiwei life energy formation are obviously able to do this. While supplying spiritual energy and repairing injuries at the same time, it is equivalent to taking drugs all the time. The improvement of combat power is even far greater than that of attack. The formation is bigger. Zhou Daocheng had already prepared the materials for the two formations in advance. He had to be thankful that he was at the Wang family, otherwise it would be difficult to get a complete set of materials for the orchid chi condensing formation and Kuiwei vitality formation elsewhere. At the same time, Zhou Daocheng also wanted to reduce losses as much as possible. Maybe he could use the saved losses to accumulate materials for a orchid qi condensation formation, or a Kuiwei life formation. When Zhou Daocheng devoted himself to the formation, the war officially began on the frontal battlefield. In anger, the Qingshan sect launched a full-scale attack, and 3 powerful men from the Zifu took action at the same time to surround and suppress the Qianyanshan Wang family. As for the Qingshan sect guarding the rear, it's completely unnecessary. Suffering such a big loss and being seriously damaged was very fatal to the Qingshan sect. Even under Tianlizi's sneak attack, half of the sect was severely damaged. If they cannot take advantage as soon as possible and restore their morale through victory, they will most likely be at a disadvantage next. Therefore, the Qingshan sect chose neither to destroy nor to establish, and forcefully started a full-scale war when both sides were not fully prepared. This was based on the background of both sides. And the foundation is exactly the advantage of Qingshan sect. No longer needing to think about repairing the spirit boat, the Qingshan sect completely let go and launched a crazy revenge. That night, Qianyan Mountain was shrouded in a powerful third-level mid-level formation, and the purple light curtain rendered the entire sky. The spells and formations collided and resounded throughout the sky. The head of the Wang family, Wang Shangzong, cooperated with the Wang family's guardian spirit beast, King Zuan Union, to stay in Qianyan Mountain and try their best to resist the siege of the 3 powerful men of the Z family. This was the first time in hundreds of years that Qianyanshan had suffered such a powerful attack, but it showed great resilience. The third-level mid-level formation, purple refining Tongshuan formation, combined with the third-level mid-level spiritual veins, although it is not extremely lethal, it is extremely defensive and can withstand it. However, the area that was not covered by the formation was almost completely razed to the ground. Whether it was rocks, vegetation, or various buildings, they were all destroyed. They were all ruins as far as the eye could see. The faces of the Wang family were also very ugly. After all, the formation covered a small area and could only ensure that the main body of the Wang family would not be affected. But the area around Qianyan Mountain, which they had also operated for hundreds of years and was a very important part of the Wang family, was now destroyed. But fortunately, Wang Yunli had made arrangements in advance and arranged for everyone to leave early to avoid casualties. The siege lasted for a whole day and night, and the sky was almost dark. The 3 strong men of the Zifu of the Qingshan sect did not hold back and used all their methods. Master Qingshan even used his magical power, the mountain god seal. Even from a very far distance, he could see a huge spiritual mountain falling from the sky and hitting the Wang family's formation. The power was so terrifying that it smashed a crack into the third-level mid-level formation, which frightened the Wang family, fearing that the formation would be unraveled. However, the quality of the formation was indeed high enough, and the Wang family had an absolute geographical advantage, so they were able to withstand the pressure in the end. Moreover, the head of the Tang family was also secretly guarding. Even if the formation was directly destroyed, there would still be the same number of strong men from the Z family to hold up the situation. Therefore, the 3 strong men of the Purple Mansion of Qingshan sect finally stopped with gloomy expressions and were forced to choose to leave. And in anger, just as Wang Yunli expected, he took action to destroy several second-level spiritual veins around him, but a scene appeared that made them even more annoyed. Wang Yunli had already made preparations, and the surrounding foundation building forces had all evacuated in advance. There was no one in the second-level spiritual veins, leaving the Qingshan sect strongman with nothing to gain. It was like a punch hitting cotton, leaving nothing but anger. Nowhere to break out. On the other side, a large number of foundation building masters also pressed forward, rushing to various important spiritual veins, opening formations to invade. The people of Qingshan sect, relying on the advantage of the number of masters, continued to attack, bursting out extremely strong strength, and many weak spiritual veins were broken at once. Most of the foundation building forces under the Wang and Tang families were able to rely on the advantages of formations to defend their bases and resist the invaders. Although there was a gap in strength, they were well prepared after all, and it was not a problem to deal with the first round of attacks. Wangye Mountain, Lidao sect. A very important second-level base near the Wang family, with 7 foundation building masters stationed, and protected by a second-level top-grade formation. Among them, 3 were the foundation building masters of Lidao sect itself, and the other 4 were arranged by the Wang and Tang families. Among them, the 2 arranged by the Wang family were Lin Xiaoyuan and Qin Chengyu. The two were not originally in the same base, but later took the initiative to request and were finally assigned together, so that they could take care of each other. Moreover, Qin Chengyu also had the Blackwater Mystic Snake on him, and Lin Xiaoyuan also had a high probability of carrying a second-level puppet. So it looked like there were 2 foundation building masters, but in fact there were 4, and they were all at the 3rd level of foundation building, which was considered a very powerful fighting force. They could act together and take care of each other, and their safety was also guaranteed. The 2 stood on the top of the mountain, and there were 5 other foundation building masters standing beside them, staring at the 12 invaders outside together, with a very solemn look. There is a clear gap in the number of foundation building masters. With 7 to 12, they are definitely at a disadvantage, so they must not leave the formation, otherwise they may be caught by the other side. At the same time, they also need to determine in advance how many people the other side has brought. There are only 12 people on the surface, and there are still more masters hiding in the dark. If this cannot be figured out, the next battle will still be very dangerous. The master of Lai Dao Zong frowned and said, I have sent people to check. There are only 2 areas nearby where masters may be hidden. It is not urgent to take action after the specific strength of the other party is detected. A man surnamed Zong who defected to the Tiongui Tang family said helplessly, now it's not whether we want or not, but when the other party wants to take action. As soon as the voice fell, a loud noise sounded. Boom! The huge golden round wheel magic weapon directly collided with the surface of the formation, causing the second-level upper-grade formation to fluctuate continuously, and the energy flowing in it also became chaotic in an instant. When the strong man of Lai Dao sect saw this scene, he frowned and walked forward, quickly controlling the formation and resisting the opponent's attack with all his strength. The moment the opponent attacked, everyone's face became extremely ugly. This person's strength has reached the 6th level of foundation building. Among all the people present, the strongest one is the leader of Lai Dao sect, who barely reached the level of the 5th level of foundation building, but compared with the opponent, he is still far behind. Not only can they not match the opponent in quantity, but they can't even match the quality. In this war, they have no other way to win except to defend the formation. Looking at the 12 figures outside the formation, the expression of the leader of the Lai Dao sect kept changing, and finally he said, my fellow Taoists, you and I have never had any feuds before. We were just forced to join different Purple Mansion forces. It's okay to pretend. There's no need to fight to the death, right? On the side, Lin Xiaoyuan also echoed, yes, we all take what we need. There's no need to fight to the death. It's really not worth it. In fact, this is also the consensus of many foundation building masters. As long as they are not mortal enemies, they generally won't fight to the death. After all, they just joined the Purple Mansion forces, not the diehards of the Qingshan sect, so naturally they can't fight to the death for the Qingshan sect. At most, they just pretend. This was the case when the Qingshan sect and the Lingding sect fought before. It seemed that a large number of foundation building warriors were mobilized and promised great benefits, but the number of casualties was not large. The vast majority of the dead cultivators were weaker foundation building cultivators at the 1st level. Because there were enough participants, there would often be a situation of being left alone, which led to some casualties. However, on the front battlefield, both sides cannot really fight to the death, and almost all of them will hold back. If you really show no mercy and go all out to kill a certain cultivator, it will only attract the attention of some powerful people, who will take action in advance to eliminate your unstable factor. As for the others, they all silently abide by the unspoken rules, which is good for you, me, and everyone. Even now, when the Qingshan sect and the Wang Tang families are fighting, many of the foundation building cultivators who participated in the battle have participated in the battle between the Qingshan sect and the Lingding sect before. It's just that their identities have changed from teammates to opponents. Therefore, in the eyes of the leader of the Lai Dao sect, the two sides will definitely not fight to the death. However, the other party's response was completely beyond his expectations. The leader just smiled coldly and said, not to the death. Ask the Wang family whether they thought about fighting to the death when they attacked the Qingshan sect. Lin Xiaoyuan and others were slightly stunned when they heard this, and their brows frowned, as if they didn't understand why the other party said so. The next moment, another old man outside the formation said with a ferocious look, all the talisman masters of my Zhao family are in Qingshan sect. You have used a thunder seed, which is really a good blow. Don't say anything about showing mercy today, just fight to the death. Kill. As soon as the voice fell, the heavy hammer magic weapon directly hit the formation, causing the entire formation to fluctuate. In the formation, everyone looked at each other, and their faces were not good. At this time, they finally understood why the other party had such a great hatred. It seems that the problem lies here. Qingshan sect does not have a large rear base like Donglan market, so almost all the weapon refiners, alchemists, talisman masters and formation masters of various families gathered in Qingshan sect. Qingshan sect is likely to have specially arranged residences for these talents like Donglan market, and everyone gathered together to supply resources to the front line. However, the Wang family used the Thunder Seed to attack, but no matter whether the sneak attack was from Qingshan sect or other people who defected to Qingshan sect, almost all of them were blown to death. In fact, Qingshan sect did not expect that the Wang family would use the third-level Tianlizi to launch a sneak attack, and they did not expect that they could directly take out 5 Tianlizi. Therefore, it directly caused huge losses and caused the death of many people who were proficient in the benefits of cultivating immortals. The losses were heavy, not only Qingshan sect, but also those foundation-building forces that sent talents of cultivating immortals to Qingshan sect. They were full of anger, but they did not know where to release it. They should have blamed Qingshan sect for not protecting them well, but after seeing that most of the mountain gate of Qingshan sect was destroyed and more disciples and talents of cultivating immortals died, they could not vent their anger on Qingshan sect for a while. Moreover, Qingshan sect handled the matter in an extremely sophisticated way. It immediately notified all the victimized forces and promised them very generous compensation. Therefore, all the hatred was finally concentrated on the Wang family. Originally, an ordinary war now has a hint of a fight to the death. Qin Chengyu couldn't help frowning, and had a bad feeling in his heart. Was the current situation caused by the 2 major Purple Palace forces? It might be an accident, but it might also be a human consideration. After all, the foundation building forces of both sides are now standing on opposite sides, and the war will never stop easily. The leader of the Lai Dao sect seemed a little unwilling, and continued, "Dear fellow Taoists, this matter was done by the Wang family and has nothing to do with us. Why are you so aggressive? Besides, did anyone from each of your forces die in this sneak attack?" In response to this, a skinny old man on the opposite side grinned and sneered. Qingshan sect has already said that if you kill a cultivator at the first level of foundation building, you will be rewarded with 10,000 spirit stones, 20,000 spirit stones at the second level of foundation building, and so on. Kill a strong man above the 6th level of foundation building, and reward foundation building pills. When they heard this, everyone immediately understood why the other party was fighting to the death. It turned out that the benefits were too great. The biggest reason why both sides gave each other a break before was that there was no conflict of interest. Naturally, no one would do something that did not bring enough benefits. But now it is different. Qingshan sect showed great determination and had a legitimate reason to fight with the Wang family. Moreover, they paid a huge price and played a lot of cards. In this way, the nature of this war has completely changed. The leader of Lai Dao sect stopped talking and tried his best to control the formation to avoid being broken by the other side. After all, his head is worth 50,000 spirit stones, which will inevitably cause many people to scramble for it. At this moment, everyone's face was gloomy, and they felt that a bad premonition was shrouded in their hearts. The next war would inevitably be stained with a trace of blood, which was very different from the previous wars. The 12 foundation building masters behind also began to launch a crazy siege. The 12 people were divided into 3 groups, each with 4 people, taking turns to attack the formation continuously. Although the quality of the formation is very high, the strength of the controller is not very strong, so there is a high probability of breaking it. Although the spiritual energy provided by the second-level spiritual vein is not enough to meet the consumption of the formation, the cultivators of the Lai Dao sect need to continuously input spiritual energy. At first, it was barely able to maintain, but as time went on, it became more and more difficult. Although the 3 Lai Dao sect kings took turns to input true energy and took elixirs to restore true energy, they were still exhausted after a day and a night. In such a situation, they had to make a choice, whether to continue to hold on or to hand over the control of the formation to others. Such a choice was actually very difficult for the leader of the Lai Dao sect. Once others were allowed to control the formation, it was almost like handing the life of the Lai Dao sect to others. Moreover, if others were allowed to control the formation and thus have a comprehensive understanding of this formation, it would be equivalent to exposing the weaknesses of the Lai Dao sect to others, which he absolutely did not want to see. However, when the siege continued until the second night, the leader of the Lai Dao sect could no longer bear it and chose to hand over the control of politics and law to Qin Chengyu and others. If 7 people take turns to input spiritual energy, there will be more time to recover spiritual energy, and they can last longer accordingly. However, in this process, a large number of recovery pills will still be consumed continuously, and the consumption of resources is very huge. But this is war, full of blood and cruelty, and it is necessary to use the consumption of manpower and resources to constantly put pressure on the enemy. Not only the people in the Lai Dao sect consumed a lot, but the 12 foundation building masters who besieged them also consumed a lot. The continuous siege consumed a lot of energy in the formation, which also made them exhausted. Pills were used in large quantities, almost like meals. However, no matter how precious the pills are, they contain a trace of pill poison to a certain extent. It may not be seen if taken in small quantities, but once used too much, it will cause irreparable damage to the body. Often after a war, the body of the foundation building masters will be greatly depleted, and it will take a long time to recover. Especially the poison hidden in the meridians, all condensed together, hidden in the corners, it is difficult to eliminate with ordinary means, it takes a long time to expel it from the body bit by bit. Severe cases may even cause permanent damage to the body. Therefore, such a high-intensity, long-term siege formation is a bit unbearable for both the attacker and the defender, but it is not easy to stop. For the attackers, they do not expect to destroy the entire second-level upper-grade formation at one time, which is unrealistic. Their plan is to consume the spiritual energy in the formation through continuous attacks, so that the replenished spiritual energy cannot keep up with the consumed spiritual energy, and one day the formation will be broken. When the siege lasted for the 7th day, both sides were exhausted, but it was at this time that an accident occurred that made everyone emotional. The Qingshan sect sent 3 foundation building masters again, bringing the number of besiegers to 15. Moreover, the 3 people who came to support all reached the 3rd level of foundation building, and they were all disciples of the Qingshan sect. After seeing this scene, Lin Xiaoyuan, Qin Chengyu and others in the formation secretly said that it was not good. The current situation showed that Qingshan sect had already taken action personally and made great determination. The addition of the 3 people greatly reduced the pressure on the original 12 foundation building masters, and launched a fierce bombardment on the formation. With one go, it only took half a day for the second-level superior formation to collapse. Even if the formation is powerful, without sufficient spiritual energy supply and without strong enough cultivators to control it, its power is far less than imagined. If there is a second-level formation master here, it will be difficult to break it easily. Faced with this situation, the 7 people inside the formation all looked ugly, which means that the 7 of them need to face 15 foundation building masters directly, whose strength and number far exceed them, and there is almost no possibility of winning. However, after breaking the formation, the 3 foundation building masters who came to support did not stay to continue to besiege the 3 people, but rushed to other places urgently. Qin Chengyu and others immediately understood that their mission was to break through the station. After completing the mission, they would leave directly and go to other stations. This made everyone breathe a sigh of relief, and they had to sigh that Qingshan sect's choice was indeed the right one. In today's battle, the most important thing is not to kill a lot of foundation building masters, but to break through the station. Once the protection of the formation is lost and it cannot be rearranged in a short time, the defensive power will be greatly reduced, and the defense line will naturally fall without attacking. Moreover, even the siege of 12 strong men was enough. For a moment, 19 foundation building strong men fought in a group, all kinds of killing moves were launched, spells roared, and Truchi kept colliding with each other, and the atmosphere became tense in an instant. The opponent was very smart. The 6 foundation building strong men each found an opponent, not seeking to injure or kill, but only to contain Qin Chengyu and others. As for the other 6 foundation building strong men, they directly besieged one person by force, trying to kill this person directly in a short time, so that the number gap of foundation building strong men would be even greater. A second-level foundation building cultivator under the Tang family was unfortunately chosen as the target of the siege. Seeing the 6 heavy foundation building strong men besieging, his face turned green. At the critical moment, Lin Xiaoyuan and Qin Chengyu acted in time, sending out the second-level puppet and the black water snake to resist the 2 foundation building strong men, barely making the battle not too tense. Afterwards, the leader of the Lai Dao sect also gritted his teeth and took out a beast-shaped puppet, which had reached the 3rd level of foundation building, and once again resisted a foundation building expert. In this way, it was a 1-on-3 situation. Although it was still very difficult, it would not be besieged to death as soon as it entered the field. With all his strength, he could barely resist a few moves. Qin Chengyu frowned and thought to himself while dealing with the battle in his hands, the situation is not optimistic. The foundation building cultivator who was being besieged was just a small sect. The leader of Cholan sect did not have a rich foundation and was not strong among the crowd. He was likely to be unable to withstand the opponent's bombardment. Once this person was besieged to death, the difference in numbers would be further expanded, and he would have no chance of winning the next battle. While thinking, Qin Chengyu reached for the spirit beast bag at his waist. If it came to a critical moment, he might have to send out a second-level soul-devouring ant to help the leader of Cholan sect bear the pressure and maintain the balance of the situation. As for why he didn't take action now, after all, he only brought a dozen second-level soul-devouring ants, and did not bring a soul-devouring ant queen, nor a large number of ant colonies as a foundation, so his strength was not very strong. If he took action now, the other party only needed to send out a foundation-building strongman, and it would take a little effort to gradually kill all the second-level soul-devouring ants. The strength of the second-level soul-devouring ants is still much weaker than that of the foundation-building cultivators. They can only serve as auxiliary and cannot hold up the foundation-building cultivators from behind. However, before Qin Chengyu made a move, the leader of the Lai Dao sect could not wait and threw 2 second-level middle-grade talismans to the leader of the Cholan sect, roaring, "Daoyu, hold on as much as possible. When we get rid of the opponent, we will go to help you immediately. Help others, you should think about yourself." The cold voice floated in his ears, and then the golden round wheel fell. The leader of the Lai Dao sect resisted with all his strength, but was still kicked out, and his clothes on his chest were directly split open. However, a light silver inner armor appeared under the clothes, which just blocked the sharpness of the golden round wheel, and he was not directly seriously injured. It's a close call. Fortunately, I have the silver silkworm embroidered inner armor to protect myself, otherwise I'm afraid it would be dangerous. The leader of the Lai Dao sect was sweating profusely. His opponent was the strongest 6th-level foundation-building strongman, 1 level higher than him. Moreover, the higher the realm, the greater the gap between each small realm. When both sides have powerful magic tools, spells, talismans and other items, it is difficult to win by leaps and bounds. After just a few moves, the face of the leader of the Lai Dao sect became more and more ugly. He had recognized the identity of his opponent, the leader of the Jinlin sect. The Jinlin sect is famous for its second-level top-grade technique, Golden Wheel Gong. This set of techniques comes with a set of spells and a life-defining magic tool, and its strength is very high. However, it is said that the spell, Golden Wheel Slash, was lost during the previous sect leader's term, so only the life-defining magic tool, Golden Sun Round Wheel, remains. But even so, this sect is still very powerful. After all, although magic tool and life-defining magic tool only differ by 2 words, their power is very different. Among the foundation-building cultivators, there are actually only a small number of people who can refine their life-defining magic tools. Neither Lin Xiaoyuan, the leader of the Disha sect, nor Qin Chengyu, the leader of the Lingxi sect, have refined their own natal magic tools. On the one hand, it is because there is no inheritance of natal magic tools. This kind of inheritance is extremely expensive and is as rare as the inheritance of immortal cultivation skills. Only some sects with a long history have it, which is also a symbol of heritage. On the other hand, the materials for refining natal magic tools are extremely expensive and require a lot of manpower, material resources, and energy. Even if they have the inheritance of natal magic tools, forces with weaker heritage can also withstand the consumption of natal magic tools. Just like Zhou Daocheng, both Wutu Kun Yu Gong and Zan Yin Body Refining Technique have the manufacturing method of natal magic tools, but the materials are too rare and it is very troublesome to manufacture. Therefore, Zhou Daocheng has never made up his mind to refine the natal law. However, if Zhou Daoqi breaks through the foundation building period and becomes a true second-level refiner, he may consider refining the natal magic tool. In the battle at hand, the appearance of a lifelong magic weapon brought great threat to the leader of Lai Dao sect, who could only retreat and fight desperately. The leader of Cholan sect could only rely on the second-level talisman to barely survive. He had already suffered a lot of injuries. If he continued to fight like this, it would be difficult for him to hold on. Facing the crisis of life and death, another cultivator who had taken refuge in the Tang family suddenly gritted his teeth, took out a set of array plates from his arms, and threw them directly to the leader of Cholan sect. What kind of array is this? The leader of Cholan sect was a little confused, but he immediately said, "If you don't take out the array earlier, I will almost die." As he said that, he directly asked the enemy to arrange the array. The other cultivator did not refute, but frowned and said, "It was sent over by Donglan Market a few days ago. They said it must be used at a critical moment, so I have not taken it out. As for the type of formation, I don't know it either. Whatever, with this set of second-level formation, I should be able to hold on for a while." The leader of Cholan sect showed joy, but when the formation appeared, he couldn't help but feel a little puzzled. The black and red formation, with a strong smell of blood, made everyone present frown slightly. The formation in front of them, most of the people present had never seen it. It must be a formation that rarely appears on the market. Although the momentum is extremely powerful, it doesn't look like a regular formation. Lin Xiaoyuan and Qin Changyu saw this scene and couldn't help but silently step back a few steps. They always felt that this formation was a little abnormal, but they couldn't be sure. After all, this was a formation sent from Donglan Market, and the Wang and Tang families should not harm everyone at this time. Only the leader of the Lai Dao sect and the leader of the Jin Lun sect, two cultivators with a deeper vision, had slightly fluctuating eyes at this time, as if they recognized the details of this formation, but they didn't say anything. But the following battle was beyond everyone's imagination. In the formation, after a short period of days, the leader of the Cholan sect was directly wrapped in a thick blood mist, and then the aura on his body continued to grow. Directly from the original second level of foundation building, to the third level of foundation building, and it was close to the late level of the third level of foundation building. Moreover, the original exhausted true energy was completely replenished in a short time, and the powerful force filled the whole body, immediately showing a strong suppression force. The three opponents were caught off guard, and one of them was directly injured, with a huge wound on his chest, and even some blood was sucked away. This is also the effect of the bloodthirsty formation. During the battle, the magic weapon will be attached with the bloodthirsty ability, absorbing the enemy's blood, thereby causing stronger lethality and destructive power. It is undeniable that as a second-level lower-grade formation, the bloodthirsty formation is indeed very powerful, and its impact on the battle situation is beyond imagination. However, the damage to itself is also far beyond imagination. It is not just the damage to the body of the cultivator. If the magic weapon is attached with the bloodthirsty effect for a long time, it will also affect the magic weapon and lose some spirituality. For sword-like instruments, the blades may be corroded by the bloodthirsty effect. These are flaws that cannot be ignored. However, the leader of the Cholan sect could not control this at this time. He had been besieged by 3 people before and was unable to fight back. He had already suppressed his anger. Now with the blessing of the formation, his aura was immediately full. Fight back with all your strength. The 3 foundation building monks who participated in the siege were beaten back again and again. They had already consumed a lot of chi in their previous siege formation, and just now they had consumed a lot of chi in order to kill the leader of the Cholan sect, and their own strength had also been reduced. Now facing the prosperous leader of the Cholan sect, he was somewhat outmatched for a while, and his offense and defense changed instantly. However, in the face of this situation, the leader of the Jinlin sect not only did not show unwillingness or anger, he just sneered and finally ordered a retreat. On the contrary, it was the leader of the fierce knife sect whose face was not very pretty. He frowned and watched the other party leave, feeling extremely heavy. No matter how you look at it, it is the Qingshan sect who has the upper hand this time, directly breaking the defense of the formation, which is equivalent to cutting off the Lai knife sect's biggest support. Moreover, they know very well the sequelae of the bloodthirsty formation. In today's battle, the Cholan sect leader can take advantage of the bloodthirsty formation, but will he be able to fight in every battle in the future? Is it possible to send another foundation building monk to use the bloodthirsty array again to forcefully renew his life? I'm afraid that every time I use it a few times, I will destroy a strong foundation building expert, without the opponent needing to take action. After a few times, no one will be able to fight. But now, having just won the battle, everyone is still immersed in joy, especially the head of the Cholan sect, who looks extremely excited. He looks at the bloodthirsty formation quite excitedly and can't help but admire. What kind of formation is this? It's really amazing that it has such power. When Qin Chengyu heard this, he couldn't help but worry and persuaded, "Friend Taoist, it's better to be careful. This formation is obviously abnormal. It is impossible for an ordinary second level to have such a powerful power." Hearing this, the head of the Cholan sect frowned and said, "What's the problem with this? It's normal for the formation sent by the Zifu family to be more powerful. I think you are worrying too much." Yes, we are fighting under the Wang and Tang families. Is it possible that they can come up with something that threatens our lives? Another person agreed. Then, he glanced at Lin Xiaoyuan and Qin Changyu, and couldn't help but sneered. You too, didn't the Wang family of Qianyan Mountain provide you with formations? Hearing this, Qin Changyu couldn't help but frown, and decisively did not answer the question. There was really no need to answer such targeted and provocative words. Since the other party was unwilling, he didn't say anything more, turned around and left, returned to his own cave and began to restore his true energy. A few hours later, Qin Changyu and Lin Xiaoyuan each had a communication talisman in their arms that suddenly lit up. Both of them were confused. The communication talisman was also a talisman and was not cheap. Who could send them messages when they were free? Moreover, there are not many people who can contact the two of them, only a few people from the Qianyanshan Wang family, allies, and members of the sect. Thinking of this, the two of them felt nervous, wondering how to check the content, and their expressions changed slightly after a few seconds. The content of the message is not much. The formation sent by the Tang family to the front line is a bloodthirsty formation, which will cause great harm to the human body. Try not to use it as much as possible. And it comes with the effects and side effects of the bloodthirsty array. When they saw the specific effects of this formation, the two of them couldn't help but take a deep breath, and both looked a little ugly at the same time. This kind of formation can only be used at critical moments that threaten life or death. Otherwise, it will cause too much harm to the body and may even leave permanent damage. You want to practice and make breakthroughs in the future. At the same time, they were secretly glad that this formation was sent by the Tang family, otherwise they would have been tricked. Now thinking about the leader of the Cholan sect, there was also a trace of pity in their eyes. If he could not control the number of times he used the bloodthirsty formation, he was afraid that the end would not be good. In the next few days, the former Qingshan sect will still come to besiege the station. However, with this first experience, it is much easier to deal with it now. Everyone can find their own opponents and ensure that the battle situation is stable. The leader of the Cholan sect was still the one who received special care. He was always besieged by 2 to 3 strong foundation builders every time. In the end, he had no choice but to use the bloodthirsty formation, and then Bai Fan could only be beaten back. Regarding this, the leader of the Cholan sect was also very strange. He couldn't help but curse secretly every time. Damn these bastards, you caught me and beat me because I'm weak. Don't give me a chance, otherwise I will definitely kill you. In his own opinion, the reason why the other party besieged him every time was simply because he was the weakest and easiest to kill. However, in the eyes of Lin Xiaoyuan, Qin Changyu, and the leader of the Fierce Sword sect, this is not the case. Because they know the characteristics of the bloodthirsty formation, they understand even more clearly the purpose of the Qingshan sect and others, which is to use the bloodthirsty formation to forcibly consume the leader of the Cholan sect to death. It only takes a little time to do this, and there is no need to risk killing him by force, so why not? However, the leader of Cholan sect did not know this. Although the leader of the Fierce Sword sect and others knew the inside story, they did not remind them. On the one hand, even if they reminded them, the Cholan sect leader might not listen. Of course, a more important reason is that in the current situation, it is indeed necessary for someone to sacrifice himself to delay time for everyone and prevent the battle from collapsing too quickly. If the leader of Cholan sect had not used the bloodthirsty formation, it would be highly likely that everyone would not be able to withstand the siege of the 12 strong men of Qingshan sect. And sacrificing him alone did bring hope to everyone. There were a total of 19 foundation building masters on both sides. Except for the leader of Cholan sect, who was in a relatively miserable situation, everyone else was happy to see this. But for now, the leader of Cholan sect himself was quite satisfied. It was just that as time went on, the number of times the bloodthirsty formation was used increased, and the face of the leader of Cholan sect became more and more difficult. He had already clearly shown signs of qi and blood deficiency and physical fatigue. Even in a recent battle, when he wanted to use the bloodthirsty formation to counterattack, his breath suddenly became disordered, and a mouthful of reverse blood spurted out, and then he fell to the ground. Faced with this situation, the leader of Jinlin sect left wisely, and did not take advantage of the victory to attack at all, but retreated directly. Because he knew that this foundation-building cultivator who used the bloodthirsty formation was almost useless. In the past few days, the strategy of the leader of the Golden Wheel sect was also very simple. They came to fight every day, and when the leader of the Cholan sect used the bloodthirsty formation, they would leave directly. This time, too, the two sides were extremely tacit. The leader of the Jinlin sect turned around and left, while the leader of the Lidao sect returned to the base. But this time, the leader of the Lidao sect did not look good, especially when he saw the extremely pale face of the leader of the Cholan sect, as if he had aged more than 10 years. He knew that this person was likely to die soon, and he was a little worried. The next defense will probably be even more difficult. On the contrary, Qin Chengyu and Lin Xiaoyuan did not care too much. They returned to the cave and began to recover their true energy. However, they were awakened by the noise outside the cave that night. Then, the communication stone rang soon, and it was a message from the leader of the Lidao sect. Notify them that there is an unexpected situation and let them come out as soon as possible. When the two walked out of the cave, the leader of the Lidao sect was already standing at the door, with a very ugly face, and said, "Fellow Taoist Tian is in trouble, we have to go over and take a look." Lin Xiaoyuan and Qin Chengyu looked at each other, but there was no surprise in their eyes. Having witnessed the changes in the leader of Cholan sect these days, they knew that this day would come sooner or later. And the so-called fellow Taoist Tian was the leader of Cholan sect. When the three rushed over and came to the cave of the leader of Cholan sect, they immediately saw a horrifying scene. The leader of Cholan sect was lying on the bed, and he had lost a lot of weight. Originally, he was just skinny, but now he was skinny, with a lot of spots on his wrinkled skin, his face was pale, and there was no trace of blood. His breath was also very weak. At first glance, he was more than a few decades older than when they first met. When the leader of Cholan sect saw everyone coming, he just looked over weakly, and he didn't even have the strength to say hello. It was obvious that he was extremely weak. Seeing this scene, everyone present took a breath and felt a chill on their backs, especially the few people who knew the reason. Although they had already understood the role of the bloodthirsty formation and knew that this formation was extremely harmful to the human body, they didn't expect it to be so serious. The leader of the Lidao sect asked in a deep voice, "Why is the situation like this? This seems a little abnormal." Aside, another foundation building cultivator who had surrendered to the Tang family frowned and said, "After the battle today, fellow Taoist Tian fell into a coma and his physical condition has not recovered. I wonder if the opponent used a trick. I see that the situation is getting worse and worse. The healing pills are no longer effective, so I called a few fellow Taoists to see if anyone knows what's going on." Naturally, no one answered this. The injury is getting worse. Even the healing pills are useless. They naturally know the reason. Even if the bloodthirsty formation is used occasionally, it will cause great harm to the human body and it will take a long time to recover, not to mention using it with all your strength one after another. In the past few days, the leader of the Cholan sect uses the bloodthirsty formation almost every day. And most of the time, it is used when one's physical strength is about to run out and he is no match for the opponent. While opening the bloodthirsty formation, he stuffed pills into his mouth one after another. In the end, he was relentless and chased the enemy with all his strength, consuming all his true energy again. With this kind of fighting style, how could it not be consumed? The leader of the Lidao sect, as well as Lin Xiaoyuan and Qin Chengyu, successively felt the pulse of the leader of the Cholan sect, and then explored the situation in his body, and found that it was already horrible. Almost all the true energy in the meridians was squeezed out, and even the energy in the blood was completely gone, just like an old and dying person. Why can't people over 70 years old use it to build a foundation again? It's because the qi and blood in the meridians, blood, and muscles are deficient, and they can't support the improvement of strength. The situation of the leader of the Cholan sect is like this, and it is extremely serious. There is no possibility of recovery at all. Let alone using healing pills, even using pills to prolong life, it is difficult for him to recover. Unless there are rare treasures of heaven and earth, there may be a possibility of recovery. The leader of the Lidao sect shook his head and said, "Fellow Taoist Tian is depleted of blood and energy, and his essence and blood have lost their spirituality. The remaining spiritual energy in his body is also leaking. This situation is too special, and I can't see the details. Alas, what is going on?" Another cultivator who defected to the Tang family was also quite anxious. Maybe the other party did a dirty trick, otherwise it was fine a few days ago. How could such a serious problem suddenly appear? Qin Chengyu analyzed seriously. Fellow Taoist Qin is right. Lin Xiaoyuan also said in a deep voice, "It must be the bastards of the Qingshan sect. It's too cruel. It's a pity for fellow Taoist Tian." On the side, the leader of the Lidao sect looked at the two hypocritical people and couldn't help but twitching his mouth. However, everyone was not adding insult to injury. In the current situation, facing the siege of 12 foundation building masters, someone will eventually sacrifice. In this case, it can only be that fellow Taoist dies, not the poor one. After discussing for a long time, everyone had no good treatment plan, so they could only leave a few bottles of healing pills and return alone. However, on the way back, the leader of the Lai Dao sect suddenly stopped Lin Xiaoyuan and Qin Chengyu. Please stay, fellow Taoists. Qin Chengyu was stunned, turned to look at the leader of the Lai Dao sect, and asked, "May I ask what's the matter, senior?" The leader of the Lai Dao sect did not beat around the bush and asked directly, "The situation of the bloodthirsty formation. You two should also know it, right?" Lin Xiaoyuan and Qin Chengyu paused, and did not intend to hide it. Instead, they nodded slightly. The leader of the Lai Dao sect had such an expression, and continued, "You two have seen the current situation. The leader of the Cholan sect has used the bloodthirsty formation many times, and it is probably not working. For the next battle, do you have any way to deal with it?" Lin Xiaoyuan pondered for a moment and said, "To be honest, we don't have a good way. Now that the second level formation has been broken, we have lost our greatest support. Moreover, the opponent has more people than us, and the situation of the leader of the Cholan sect is not optimistic. I am afraid that it will be more difficult in the future." Fellow Taoist Lin is right. Qin Chengyu also nodded and agreed. There are only two ways to change the situation now. Either ask the formation master to repair the formation, or ask the Wang and Tang families to send more foundation building masters. Hearing this, the leader of the Lai Dao sect sighed and shook his head helplessly. He knew these two methods, but they were both unrealistic. Send a formation master. They can certainly ask the Wang and Tang families for a request, but it is highly likely that they will not agree. After all, they were not the only ones in danger at one garrison, but most of the garrisons were under siege, and a large number of formations were destroyed, so there were simply not enough formation masters. Moreover, in such a dangerous situation, it was impossible to send formation masters to repair the formations. Once they were lost here, the loss would be greater than the death of a few ordinary foundation building cultivators. As for sending additional foundation building monks, this is also difficult to do. Because most of the foundation building monks have already been sent out, it is difficult to send more people. Moreover, the number of foundation building experts under the Qingshan sect was already greater. Even if the Wang and Tang families continued to send more monks, it would be difficult to change the current situation. Is there no other way? If we continue like this, I'm afraid we won't be able to hold on for too long. It's not completely impossible, Lin Xiaoyuan suddenly said after thinking for a while. The leader of the Fierce Knife sect's eyes lit up and he immediately asked, "Do you have any good ideas?" Lin Xiaoyuan smiled and said, "Although the leader of Cholan sect is no longer alive, but is the bloodthirsty array damaged?" As soon as he said this, the leader of the Fierce Sword sect and Qin Chengyu immediately understood what he meant. "You mean, let others continue to use the bloodthirsty formation. But who should use it next?" The leader of the Fierce Knife sect thought for a while and asked tentatively. Lin Xiaoyuan raised the corners of his lips and said, "Among the remaining foundation building monks, are there any choices?" The leader of the Fierce Knife sect was stunned for a moment, smiled bitterly, and said no more. Apart from the leader of the Cholan sect, there are still 6 foundation building experts left. Among them, Lin Xiaoyuan and Qin Chengyu know the function of the bloodthirsty formation and it is absolutely impossible to use it. Moreover, the two of them are very powerful. With the second-level puppet and the Blackwater Spirit Snake in their possession, they are very powerful and no one dares to force them. The 3 foundation building monks of the Fierce Sword sect are protected by the leader of the Fierce Sword sect, so there is a high probability that they will not be able to use the bloodthirsty formation. Then there is only one person left who can use the bloodthirsty formation, and that is another foundation building monk who has taken refuge with the Tang family. It may be the best choice for these 2 brothers to use the bloodthirsty formation to save their lives for the upcoming battle. After the leader of the Lai Knife sect left, only Lin Xiaoyuan and Qin Chengyu were left. Qin Chengyu then sighed and said, "It is indeed a bit troublesome. After all, the bloodthirsty array is not a long-term solution." Lin Xiaoyuan sighed and said, "Why don't you ask fellow Taoist Wugu, who is an array master after all and works in the spiritual array palace, to see if he can support us? Let me give it a try. If there is a more normal formation, we may be able to persist longer." Qin Chengyu nodded in agreement, but did not hold out much hope. If there really was support, it would have arrived long ago, and he would not have been asked to ask Zhou Daocheng for it in person. However, when he sent a communication talisman to Zhou Daocheng, he quickly received a reply. Zhou Daocheng did not refuse directly, nor did he agree directly. He just told the two of them that if they continue to think of ways to defend for 2 months, there might be a turnaround. If they really can't defend, then run away. Qin Chengyu's face turned green. What kind of answer was this? 2 months. It's better to let them die. Not to mention 2 months. Even just 1 month is a very difficult thing to do, and you have to risk your life to do it. As for running, don't I know I can't beat you, so I have to run away. Zhou Daocheng was actually helpless because the time was too tight and he was not fully prepared in all aspects. The Qingshan sect came again menacingly and immediately caught everyone off guard. If the war started half a year later, maybe everything would be ready. But if it is really late for half a year, the plan to attack Qingshan sect probably has no chance of success. After all, a monk who has disappeared for more than a year suddenly appears, and it is absolutely impossible for him to return to Qingshan sect. And by then, the spirit boat might have been repaired, and the Wang and Tang families would have no chance of winning, and the situation might be even worse than it is now. Now, as long as they can withstand the first round of Qingshan sect's offensive, they can then stabilize their footing and gradually resist, so that the Wang and Tang families can win. Not only the fierce sword sect, but also most of the other stations were also attacked by the Qingshan sect at the same time. Even in many stations, the situation is far worse than that of the fierce knife sect. Not only was the sect's protective formation broken, but many monks were brutally killed. Many lines of defense had been breached and were gradually eroding. The remaining foundation building monks from the Wang and Tang families have all been sent to areas where the situation is worse. They don't want to completely block the Qingshan sect, but they just want the situation to not be completely defeated. Even the eldest brother Zhou Daobai has left Union Island and gone to support various stations. The Spirit Talisman Palace, the Divine Weapon Pavilion, the Spirit Pill Workshop, and the Spirit Formation Palace are also extremely busy these days. The front lines require a large amount of cultivation resources, which are transported out almost continuously and then to various locations. In order to motivate everyone, even the contribution points obtained have been increased. These days, Zhou Daocheng has focused all his attention on refining the formation. After more than half a month, and after many mistakes, he has successfully refined the Orchid Qi Condensing Formation Disc. The effect is very good. The energy source in the formation continuously generates pure spiritual energy, which can be easily absorbed by the monks. It is almost the same as elixirs, or more durable. And in the process, he also improved his formation skills, and it will be relatively easier to refine the Emerald Energy Formation next. He told Qin Chengyu that it would take 2 months, which was actually just an insurance policy. If everything went well, it might only take more than half a month to complete the process. When the time comes, he will personally tell them to send these 2 formations to Lai Dao sect to relieve Qin Chengyu and Lin Xiaoyuan's urgent needs. Of course, it was not up to him to decide which station the formation would be provided to. However, the location of the Fierce Sword sect is extremely important, and it is a very important station. There is nothing wrong with sending 2 sets of formations there. In the past 2 days, a large amount of elixirs and talismans have been delivered to the Lai Dao sect, which barely allowed them to maintain the situation. And then, the battle of the Lai Dao sect continued. After the fall of the leader of the Cholan sect, another cultivator from the Tang family also successfully inherited the bloodthirsty formation and began to continue to deal with the cultivators of the Qingshan sect. However, even if this person is stupid, he can see some clues from the matter of the leader of the Cholan sect and know that there is something wrong with the formation. But under the current situation, he has to risk his life to use it. Fortunately, the leader of the Lai Dao sect specifically reminded him this time and asked him to use it with restraint. And he also specifically instructed not to use the formation when the true qi is deficient, and try to use it at the beginning of the battle to scare the enemy away. With the guidance of the leader of the Lai Dao sect, this foundation-building cultivator really lasted a lot longer. In fact, if the bloodthirsty formation is only used slightly, the blood consumed is the part stored in the bloodthirsty formation, so the damage to the human body is still relatively small. Once the formation is used when the body is weak, the essence and blood in the body will be directly extracted, which is really troublesome. In this way, Lin Xiaoyuan and Qin Chengyu finally managed to hold on and silently waited for Zhou Daocheng's support. There were constant disputes on the front line, but the Wugyufang city was extremely safe. Not only was it not affected by the war, but it became more and more prosperous. Wugyufang city has been re-established and expanded 5 times. It has become extremely spacious and prosperous. There are many exquisite buildings and shops, and many high-rise buildings have been added. It has the charm of a medium-sized city. In ordinary markets, shops are generally not built too high because they are worried about being attacked by flying monsters. However, this is not a problem in Wugyufang city. Because this place is shrouded in a second-order high-grade natural formation, the area covered is much wider than that of an ordinary second-order high-grade formation. The so-called vastness here is not only reflected in the area covered, but also in height. The sky above the foggy valley mountains is covered with fog like a white ocean. Any flying monsters that enter it will be lost in it, which is even more dangerous than on the ground. Therefore, most flying monsters will take a detour, which makes the skies above the foggy valley mountains extremely dangerous. Therefore, when Wei Hanshan established Wugyufang city, he deliberately built several large stores with extremely high heights. On the one hand, this can be used as a signature building in Foggy Valley to attract more monks. On the other hand, it can also save space and accommodate more shops and monks within a limited range. Moreover, from the very high floors, you can also enjoy the beautiful view of the Sea of Clouds in the Foggy Valley Mountains. It is a very good choice whether you are opening a hotel or a restaurant. Today's Wugyufang market has been completely renewed. Even among the small markets, it is definitely considered to be exquisitely crafted and unique. And with the establishment of Donglanfang city, more and more monks are coming. The number of monks in the entire Wugyufang city has stabilized at more than 200,000, and is even continuing to increase. Moreover, the number of stronger monks is also increasing, especially the number of foundation building monks has increased a lot. There are also many foundation building forces who choose to settle in Wugyufang city and operate shops here, making the entire city more vibrant. Shaodan Pavilion, Zhou family, Wang family, Qin family, and Shanghai Pavilion are all developing better and better, and their size is constantly growing. The only shortcoming is that these companies are weak and unable to meet market demand. Especially for the demand for elixirs, magic weapons, talismans, and formations, they have been completely unable to meet their needs. Not only are they lacking in quantity, but they are also lacking in quality. After all, they are only a family in the qi refining stage, and their level of immortal cultivation skills has not yet reached the second level, which is a big shortcoming. At least in a short period of time, Shaodan Pavilion and the Wang family will not be able to raise their level of immortality cultivation skills to the second level. In fact, the quality of their immortal cultivation skills is not low, they can all reach the second level, and their background is not weak. There may have been second-level talisman masters and alchemists in the past. But the only thing that hinders their progress is strength. In order to refine second-level elixirs and second-level talismans, monks need to be promoted to the foundation-building realm, but where can they find a foundation-building elixir? Maybe, the first second-level talisman master in Wugyufang city will have to find a way from Zhao Yunji. After all, she had successfully broken through to the foundation-building stage. It must be mentioned that under Fu Qingya's protection, Zhao Yunji and Zhou Daoqi successively broke through the foundation-building process. The process was quite smooth, adding 2 more foundation-building experts to the Zhou family. Zhao Yunji is a second spiritual root monk, so breakthrough is not a problem for him, it is simply a piece of cake. Although Zhou Daoqi, the 3 spiritual root cultivator, is not as good as Zhao Yunji, he has also practiced third-level skills, and his foundation is solid, and the breakthrough process is also smooth. The 2 of them can be trained into talisman masters and weapon refiners respectively, which is of great benefit to the entire Wugyufang city. But for now, Zhao Yunji still needs a lot of hard work to reach the level of a second-level talisman master. And Zhou Daoqi, at the moment of his breakthrough, had naturally become a second-level weapon refiner. To the east of the Wugu Mountains, Zhou Daoqi was leading 2 Zhou family monks to hunt monsters here. The 2 clan members of the Shuzi generation wore full-body protective magical weapons, held sharp swords in their hands, and had formation discs and talismans on their waists. Their strength had reached the peak of the 8th level of qi refining. What they were besieging was a monster beast that was at the peak of the late 1st level. Although its realm was slightly stronger than theirs, with the blessing of magic weapons and formations, they always had the upper hand. With the equipment carried by the 2 of them, even a strong man at the peak of the 9th level of qi refining can fight beyond the level. It didn't take long for this world's pinnacle monster to be knocked to the ground, lying on its knees and whimpering. In the end, his head was chopped off with a knife and he collapsed in a pool of blood. Behind them, Zhou Daoqi stood behind the two of them with a fat belly and a dark tower-like magic weapon in his hand. The black tower is very eye-catching. It looks extremely delicate and beautiful, with 9 floors, and its atmosphere is also very extraordinary. As the battle ended, Zhou Daoqi stepped forward, and his true energy poured into the black tower. A large amount of dark mist suddenly appeared, and then enveloped the entire monster corpse. It didn't take long for the black energy to wrap around the monster's spirit and leave the body. The black energy seemed to be very special. The master kept struggling and screaming in it, trying his best to break free, but unfortunately it had no effect. In the end, he was dragged directly into the black tower, and there was no more movement. Zhou Daoqi touched his belly and said with a smile behind his back, "Uncle Shouzheng, Uncle Shouchang, you can break down the monster materials. I'll go take a walk in front." Okay, Dodge should be careful. There may be second-level monsters nearby, and it might be dangerous. After Zhou Daoqi agreed, he left with his fat body shaking, looking naive and smiling. After seeing Zhou Daoqi leave, the two Shou generation couldn't help but sigh, with a little worry between their brows. Alas, I don't know whether it's good or bad. The magic weapon refined by Daoqi seems a bit weird to me. Zhou Shuzheng sighed. Zhou Shuqiang responded in a deep voice. Indeed, whose regular magic weapon is surrounded by black air. And it can also absorb the souls of monsters. Don't think too much, now the Dao generation has finally grown up, and Dodge is not an impulsive and stupid person. He should know it in his heart. Well, when Daocheng and Daobai come back next time, it is necessary to tell them about this matter, so that Dodge will not accidentally go astray. Zhou Shuzheng sighed and said, back then in Shenline Mountain, Dodge also crawled out of a sea of blood and corpses. Countless tribesmen blocked attacks for him and died on him. Although this child has never said it, I know he has always remembered it in his heart. I hope he can face this past and not take a detour. After Zhou Dodge left, the smile on his face was slightly restrained, and his eyes looked at the black tower in his hand. The spiritual consciousness can see the situation inside the black tower through the black tower. The black tower has a total of 9 floors, using extremely special space capabilities. It looks only the size of a palm, but in fact the space inside is very large. The 8 floors above are currently empty. At the bottom of the black tower, there are already a large number of first-order monsters, all of which are roaring and roaring. Logically speaking, after the spirit breaks away from the corpse of the monster, it will gradually lose its activity and gradually dissipate between heaven and earth. However, the black tower seems to have a strange ability. The rich black paint wraps the souls of the sufferers, protecting their souls from harm and allowing them to live in the black tower, always full of activity. However, the spirit of the demonic beast that had just been absorbed was now a little sluggish. When Zhou Daoqi saw this scene, he directly stretched out his hand and pinched the magic formula. The true energy attached to the monster spirit, slowly repairing the injuries on the spirit, allowing him to regain his vitality. If Zhou Daocheng were here, it would be possible to see that the method used by Zhou Daoqi was the second-level spell, Soul Restoration Hand, which is the kind of spell once found in Panhei's storage bag, which can restore the soul. Under the influence of the Soul Restoring Hand, the first-level peak monster that had just been absorbed also regained its vitality like the other monster spirits. Zhou Daoqi nodded with satisfaction. The Tower of 10,000 Souls is indeed the most suitable as my natal magic weapon. It's a pity that with my strength, I can't hunt a large number of second-level monsters. It seems that I still need my eldest brother and my 6th brother. Help. After finishing his words, Zhou Daoqi continued to look for monsters around him and began to hunt them continuously. Then the same technique was used to absorb the souls of a large number of monsters into the Black Tower and become part of it. It can be clearly felt that as the Black Tower absorbs more and more essence, the aura becomes stronger and stronger, and the black energy becomes more and more intense. Even Zhou Daoqi's strength seemed to be slowly increasing. If other people see this scene, they will definitely be very surprised. This level of second-level magic weapon, and it is also a natal magic weapon, is really very powerful. What's even more shocking is that not long after he broke through the foundation building stage, he actually directly gave himself the natal magical weapon he refined, much faster than imagined. You know, most foundation building experts who want to refine their natal magic weapon need to wait at least until the middle stage of foundation building. because it takes a lot of time to prepare the materials for refining or to find a suitable refining master. Generally speaking, if you want to refine a natal magical weapon, the level of an early second level weapon refiner is not enough. You need at least a late second level master, or even a late second level master. However, Zhou Daoqi's method of refining his natal magic weapon seems to be very special. Seeing that there were already more than 40 first-order monsters in the Black Tower, Zhou Daoqi's fat face showed a strong smile, but after a while, he seemed to recall something, and his smile became a little gloomy. He murmured, Mo Yunshan's Qi family, Ma family, Chen family. Destroy the inheritance of my Zhou family, massacre my Zhou family members. If this revenge is not avenged, how can I, Zhou Daoqi, feel at ease? Sooner or later, you will all become the lonely ghosts in the 10,000 Souls Tower will never be reincarnated. Just as Zhou Shuzheng and Zhou Shuqiang thought, this Black Tower magic weapon has never been a good kind. How can it be a regular magic weapon if it collects souls and absorbs souls? The 10,000 Soul Tower can absorb the souls of monsters and beasts, and it can also absorb the souls of monks, and it is stronger than the monsters. Because human souls have higher intelligence, even if they are absorbed into the Tower of 10,000 Souls, they still have high spirituality, more diverse fighting methods, and are more powerful than the souls of monster beasts. Zhou Daoqi shook the 10,000 Souls pagoda in his hand, and a calm smile appeared on his face again. He looked back at Wugyufang City and murmured to himself, Big brother and sixth brother, I will leave it to you to support Zhou Jiaming's overall situation. Wait, I will hide in the dark and protect you. Donglinfang City. Zhou Daocheng sat cross-legged on the ground, sweating profusely, and kept sketching the lines of the formation in his hands. Refining 2 sets of arrays one after another has consumed his whole body's energy. Now it is extremely strenuous and requires all his energy to persevere. It wasn't until most of the day later that the official took a breath and said softly, It's done. 2 sets of arrays appeared in front of them, which were the Orchid Qi Condensation Formation and the Kuiwei Vitality Formation. This is the most complex formation he has ever deployed, even more complex than the actual formation deployed on Hidden Cloud Island. However, the effect of the formation is also surprisingly good. In order to test the effect of the formation, Zhou Daocheng directly deployed 2 sets of formations at the same time. For a time, the formation absorbs the surrounding aura and then transforms it into a special breath through the formation pattern. Soon, the formation was filled with lavender and light green gases, one of which could restore spiritual energy and the other of which could restore injuries in the body. The effect was very obvious. Zhou Daocheng can feel that as long as the output of spiritual energy is not too large, the formation can make up for it in time and can sustain a long-term battle, which is of great help to the garrison. 1.5 months later, I hope Lin Xiaoyuan and Qin Chengyu can still persevere. Zhou Daocheng stood up and stretched, then went directly to find Wang Yun's and handed over these 2 formations. Each set of formations needs to be tested, and its value will be determined based on its function and the response after use on the front line. Wang Yun's looked at the 2 sets of formations in his hands, frowned and asked, Fellow Taoist Zhou, do you want to send the formations to your friends? Yes, they are stationed in the Fierce Sword sect and need to use 7 foundation building monks to deal with 12 besiegers. Moreover, they lost 2 more people due to the bloodthirsty formation. Now they are in danger. They asked me for help earlier. Help. Zhou Daocheng explained it concisely and comprehensively. Wang Yun's nodded, and after thinking about it, he said, the situation at the Lai Dao sect's base is indeed not optimistic. We have asked for help many times before, and this base is very important and really needs support. But Wang Yun's changed the subject and said, however, how many contribution points the formation can exchange for needs to be determined based on the feedback from the front line. If it is left to your friends to evaluate, I am afraid it will be unfair. It doesn't matter, just evaluate it according to the level of ordinary second-level formations. Zhou Daocheng smiled and didn't take it to heart. Wang Yun's continued to ask, then is this an attack formation or a defense formation? Zhou Daocheng was stunned and said, it should be considered an auxiliary type formation. Auxiliary type formation. Wang Yun's face clearly showed a hint of disappointment. What the front line needs now is a powerful formation that can really change the situation and win a partial victory. And the auxiliary type formation, as soon as you hear it, is not very powerful, and it is likely similar to a maze and a gathering spirit formation. Well, I'll help you deliver these 2 formations to the front line. As for the contribution points, they shouldn't be too high among the second-level low-grade formations. It's okay, I know what I'm doing. Zhou Daocheng agreed directly. He knew that his so-called auxiliary formation was much more powerful than formations such as mazes and spirit-gathering formations. However, formations such as Yulin Condensing Qi Formation and Huiwei Vitality Formation rarely appear on the market. Moreover, few formation masters have this type of formation diagram, which should belong to a relatively niche type of formation. However, he firmly believed that this type of auxiliary formation would definitely play a vital role in the battle. It would not take long for the value of this formation to be revealed, and the contribution points that can be exchanged at that time will certainly rise. After a few days of simple rest, Zhou Daocheng learned about the recent situation. It was found that the situation of the Wang and Tang families was not good in recent times. Under the full counterattack of Qingshan sect, they had shown some decline, and many of their bases had been breached. However, the two families still showed strong tenacity. With the supply of various resources and the precise deployment and support of personnel, they finally managed to hold on. This also made Zhou Daocheng sigh that the foundation of Qingshan sect is still deeper, while the Wang family of Qianyan Mountain and the Tang family of Tiankui are slightly weaker. But the Wang and Tang families are Zifu families after all, and they already have the ability to wrestle with Qingshan sect. And he also learned that his eldest brother Zhou Daobai has joined the support team and is killing enemies on the front line, and his performance seems to be very good. The extremely powerful heart sword makes him have much stronger strength than those in the same realm. He has killed several cultivators of the first and second levels of foundation building in succession, and he has also made a little reputation. Zhou Daocheng was not surprised by this. With his eldest brother's understanding of the sword, coupled with the blessing of the second-level magic weapon and the third-level swordsmanship, his strength is definitely not weak. However, this also made him a little worried. After all, a tree that stands out in the forest will be destroyed by the wind. If it attracts the attention of someone with ulterior motives, it will be even more dangerous. Zhou Daocheng is also thinking about whether to refine a set of second-level formations for his eldest brother in his own name, which can also make him safer. Thinking of this, Zhou Daocheng also ended his rest as soon as possible, and started to refine formations as much as possible. It was not until this time that he felt that as a formation master, he had too few formations on him, and he could not take out a few sets at the critical moment. Of course, part of the reason was that he had been too turbulent in these years and had no time to settle down, otherwise he would not be so hurried. However, he did have a set of formations that he could give to his elder brother for self-defense, that is, the Spirit Puppet formation. However, it was not the set of Blood-Tooth Wild Boar and Purple Flame Spirit Cat, but the first-level Spirit Puppet formation of Frost Poison Toad. Although the power is relatively weak, it is equivalent to two first-level foundation building monsters. It will be very effective to be used as an auxiliary on the battlefield. It's just that it can't be handed over to the elder brother in a short time. While thinking, Zhou Daocheng continued to retreat, still refining the Yulin Condensation Qi Formation and Huiwei Vitality Formation. At the same time, Zhou Daocheng also selected a formation that has both offensive and defensive capabilities and has a strong ability to trap the enemy, called the Three Cold Ice Formation. This is an ice attribute formation, especially suitable for water attribute cultivators. It can control the ice in it to attack and defend, and the effect of controlling the enemy is also very strong. In terms of the difficulty of arrangement, it is not much different from the Yulin Condensation Qi Formation and Huiwei Vitality Formation. It is just in the gap between refining these two formations that one can learn the formation diagram of this new formation. Zhou Daocheng began to retreat, and the two formations, Yulin Condensation Qi Formation and Huiwei Vitality Formation, have also been sent to the Lai Dao sect. For a month and a half, Lin Xiaoyuan and others have long been exhausted. The continuous high-intensity battles can only use pills to restore their true qi, which is also very harmful to their bodies. Almost visible to the naked eye, Lin Xiaoyuan, Qin Chengyu, and the three people from the Lai Dao sect have become much weaker and have many more injuries on their bodies. As for the other two cultivators who defected to the Tang family, their fates were not very good after using the bloodthirsty formation for a long time. After being bedridden for 7 days, the condition of the leader of the Cholan sect worsened continuously. Even the healing pills were ineffective, and it was even difficult to control the disease. It can be seen that the degree of qi and blood deficiency was irreversible, and he finally passed away. When he died, everyone saw the appearance of the leader of the Cholan sect. His face was as pale as paper, His body was as thin as a stick, his breath was extremely weak, his eye sockets were deep, and his breath was weak, just like an old person. Strictly speaking, he did not die of injury, but died of exhaustion of life. In the case of severe qi and blood deficiency, it directly affected his lifespan, and his life came to an end. After seeing this scene, another cultivator who had used the bloodthirsty formation was also scared, and he dared not use the bloodthirsty formation again for several days. But in the end, under pressure from all sides, he could only use the defense of the bloodthirsty formation, but he was more careful in using it. It must be used when the true qi is sufficient, and it is necessary to take pills continuously during the process to prevent overconsumption, which will cause the formation to be activated directly with one's own blood. Previously, the leader of the Cholan sect was too presumptuous and activated the formation without scruples, consuming all the energy in the formation, causing the bloodthirsty formation to forcibly absorb the blood of the human body, which led to such serious consequences. However, although he was as careful as possible, he still didn't last too long in the end. After more than half a month, the same situation as the leader of Cholan sect appeared. He was also exhausted and difficult to recover. Finally, he was bedridden and passed away. Since then, there are only 5 foundation building cultivators left, plus the Blackwater Spirit Snake and 2 second-level puppets, and the pressure has doubled. Moreover, after seeing the fate of the previous 2 people, the others dared not use the bloodthirsty formation anymore, and could only grit their teeth and bear it. Finally, after bearing it for half a month, Zhou Daocheng's support finally came. After seeing the 2 sets of formations, Lin Xiaoyuan and Qin Chengyu burst into tears, secretly thinking that the hard days were finally over. However, when they saw the types of formations, they were a little confused for a while. Hey, what kind of formation is this? Why haven't I seen it before? Qin Chengyu asked with some doubts. Yulin Condensing Qi Formation. Huiwei Vitality Formation. What type of formation is this? Lin Xiaoyuan checked the names on the array plate and was a little puzzled. Just as the two were thinking, the voice of the leader of the Lai Dao sect rang out outside. 2 Taoists, the beasts on the opposite side are coming again, please hurry to meet them. Hearing this, Lin Xiaoyuan and Qin Chengyu did not dare to hesitate, and rushed out of the cave and flew out from their respective hilltops. Walking through the misty mountains, they rushed directly to the main gate of the Lai Dao sect, and there were indeed 12 figures standing at the gate of the sect. This familiar scene still makes Qin Chengyu and Wang Yun's a little helpless. The Qingshan sect's team is really perseverant. They have been besieging them for nearly 2 months, coming almost every day, and they can't be beaten. However, the opponent did not fight to the death, and seemed to be sure to win, so he kept grinding slowly, hoping to grind everyone to death. Lin Xiaoyuan and Qin Chengyu now only hope that the formation sent by Zhou Daocheng can help them stabilize the situation. Although these 2 formations did not seem to be very strong and did not seem to focus on attack and killing capabilities, they still chose to believe in Zhou Daocheng. The 2 sides faced each other again. The leader of the Jinlin sect looked with a sneer in his eyes and said lightly, "Everyone, now that there is no bloodthirsty formation and 2 strong foundation builders are missing, you will definitely lose. Surrender. HMPH, now that we have reached this point, what do you mean by your words? Do you think that we are all people of both ends of the spectrum?" The leader of the Fierce Sword sect responded immediately without giving in. Everyone can surrender, but only he, the leader of the Fierce Sword sect, can surrender. If at this time, he chooses to join the Qingshan sect and completely abandon the location of the Fierce Sword sect, there is absolutely no way that the Wang and Tang families will let him go. The leader of the Jinlin sect smiled and said, "Why do you have to be so decisive? If you are willing, I can personally report to the Qingshan sect and seek the best interests for you. It is definitely better than staying here. Can't you see it? The foundation of the Wang and Tang families is simply not comparable to that of the Qingshan sect. Whether it is the quality and quantity of the foundation building king or the strength of the powerful Z mansion, they are absolutely crushed. What's more, the situation is now one-sided. Why don't you realize that the current situation is a hero? Surrender as soon as possible, so as to save yourself from death and wasting years of cultivation." Then, he looked at the leader of the Fierce Knife sect and persuaded, "I know your concerns, and we will never make it difficult for you. You just need to let us go and let us occupy this station. We will never treat you badly after the matter is completed." With such tempting words, an ordinary person might choose to give up. However, the leader of the Fierce Knife sect was definitely not an ordinary person. He just snorted coldly and said, "Do you think you can seduce me with just a few words? Rather than asking us to surrender, we'd rather have our heads and take them back. Exchange it for spiritual stones. If you kill us, you will not only be able to exchange us for spiritual stones, but you will also get contribution points. Even the wealth of the fierce knife sect will be yours. Will you choose to let us go? As soon as these words came out, they immediately woke up the others on the side. Perhaps, from the perspective of Qingshan sect, the benefits of conquering everyone are definitely greater. But for the leader of the Jinlin sect and others, they don't need to consider the interests of the Qingshan sect at all. They must focus on their own interests. How could they ignore so many benefits and choose to accept everyone's surrender? When the Jinlin sect heard this, he also snorted coldly. Knowing that his little thoughts had been seen through, he no longer tried to hide it and said directly, "If you are stubborn, kill him." The 12 strong foundation builders rushed towards the mountain gate together. Their momentum was like a rainbow, and the two sides fought together instantly. By now, the gap in strength has become very obvious. The fiery knife sect and others have clearly fallen into a disadvantage. Many people need to be beaten more than once, and they are suppressed throughout the whole process. Lin Xiaoyuan was besieged by 2 third-level foundation building monks, and he felt the pressure, so he took action with all his strength. The Earth Yin compass releases a large amount of Yin Qi, surrounding it to form an area rich in Yin evil, making it more powerful and suppressing the enemy. Spiritual energy surged in the white bone flag, and the remnant souls of monster beasts surrounded it, constantly roaring miserably. However, it can be seen that the number of remnant souls in the white bone flag is not large. More than half of them have been consumed in the previous battle, and the remaining ones are also weak remnant souls. However, Lin Xiaoyuan relied on 2 magical weapons and the second-level spell, Yin Evil Claw, to withstand the siege and barely managed to repel the 2 foundation building monks. The battle only lasted a few breaths, and Lin Xiaoyuan felt exhausted. Most of the energy in his body was consumed, and he quickly stuffed the elixir into his mouth. Qin Chengyu's situation was not good either. He was also besieged by 2 foundation building monks. Even with the assistance of second-level spirit devouring ants, he was still at a disadvantage. In fact, in order to help him block the tricky and fatal attack, 2 second-level spirit devouring ants had already died under the opponent's attack, which made Qin Chengyu feel heartbroken. Even for a huge colony of spirit devouring ants, second-order spirit devouring ants are still very precious, and the queen needs to pay a lot of money to cultivate one. After that, to increase the strength, you need to consume a lot of spiritual honey, which is almost the supply of the entire ant colony, in order to cultivate a second-level spirit-eating ant. If one of them dies, it will be a huge loss. Seeing that the situation was getting more and more unfavorable, Lin Xiaoyuan and Qin Chengyu looked at each other, no longer hesitated, and directly launched 2 formations. The Orchid Qi Condensing Formation appeared first, with lavender lines covering the ground. The not-so-large formation enveloped a few people, and lavender aura floated in the formation. At first, I didn't feel anything, but after only a few seconds, the eyes of several people in the formation suddenly lit up. This aura seems a little different, Lin Xiaoyuan said in surprise. Qin Chengyu remained silent and carefully felt the changes around him. He only felt that a large amount of special spiritual energy was directly absorbed by the body without the need for him to actively absorb it, making up for the lost energy. In terms of speed, the effect of taking the elixir directly together is slightly worse, with an efficiency of only about 50%. However, it can be absorbed continuously, and it will not be affected by the poison. Qin Chengyu couldn't help but sigh. What a good thing. Where did you find the formation from? After the formation was deployed, Lin Xiaoyuan and Qin Chengyu got close together and used the formation to fight against 4 enemies together, which actually allowed them to stabilize the situation for a while. The true energy was constantly recovering, and the breath gradually stabilized, which could better distribute the true energy in the body, and it was easier to use spells. Seeing this scene, the 4 besieged people also frowned slightly. They had obviously beaten the 2 people out of their minds, so why did they suddenly slow down? They also tried to get close to the range of the Yulin condensation Qi formation, but unfortunately there was no effect, and they only felt that the spiritual energy in it was very rich. Seeing this scene, Qin Chengyu also sneered. As the controller of the formation, he could control the effect of the formation, which was only useful for friendly cultivators. Others broke into the formation, but the purple spiritual energy did not flow directly into their bodies, but was no different from ordinary spiritual energy. After tasting the sweetness, Qin Chengyu immediately took out the Hui Wei Vitality formation, and threw it to Lin Xiaoyuan beside him, saying, let's perform it together and see the effect of this formation. Lin Xiaoyuan did not hesitate and immediately input the Junqi to cast the array. After replenishing his energy, even if he controls two magic weapons at the same time, Lin Xiaoyuan still has the ability to control the formation. This is the meaning of the Orchid Qi condensing formation. After the Huiwei vitality formation was deployed, the rich vitality enveloped him again. The minor injuries on his body gradually recovered under the influence of the formation, and his spirit became somewhat refreshed. Is this a formation with healing effects? The effects of these two formations have completely exceeded their imagination. They have never seen formations before, or even thought about them. And they can be sure that this kind of formation has never appeared on the market. Fighting in these two formations, the two people's strength has been greatly strengthened. They only need to control the output of their own true energy and not use spells crazily to ensure that they have enough true energy to cope with various situations. The opponents attack one after another, and their energy is constantly consumed, and they only need to defend and wait for the opponent to reveal their flaws. Perhaps, it is still difficult to defeat more with less and completely defeat the enemy. But if it's just defense, the two are almost invincible. After realizing the huge effects of the Orchid Qi condensing formation and Huiwei vitality formation, the two immediately summoned the puppets and the black water snake back to fight in the formation together. However, Lin and the others soon discovered another situation. The effects of these two formations are effective on the black water spirit snake, and they can also replenish the true energy and restore injuries. But for the second level puppet, it has no effect. But I soon understood the reason. After all, the structure of the puppet is very different from the human body. On the one hand, the spiritual energy used by the puppets comes from spiritual stones and cannot be directly replenished by conventional means. Moreover, the puppet has no meridians and acupuncture points, so it cannot absorb spiritual energy on its own. Even the injuries on the puppets are different from the injuries on humans, and they cannot be recovered using formations. Lin Xiaoyuan had no choice but to put away the puppets temporarily, and the two men and one beast fought against the 6 strong foundation builders. The difference in numbers still gave them a disadvantage, but the situation was no longer so critical. At least they could hold up the Qi shield with all their strength to resist the opponent's attack. Qin Chengyu also took out a second-level shield weapon. It was dark black and extremely thick, able to block most spell attacks. At first, they were still a little frightened in the face of the enemy's violent bombardment, and they might not be able to withstand it if they were not careful. But after a cup of tea, the two people's expressions became much calmer. After blocking the first wave of attacks, most of the besieged people's energy was consumed, making it difficult to organize a second attack. And when they began to run out of energy and were unable to cast powerful spells, that was when Lin Xiaoyuan and Qin Chengyu fought back. Normally at this time, even if they are just defending, the energy in their bodies is almost exhausted, they are close to the end of their strength, and they still have a lot of injuries. However, with the help of 2 sets of formations, many minor injuries have been recovered, and the true energy in the body has been maintained at more than 60%. He is now in very good condition. When you find an opportunity, just take action boldly. Qin Chengyu's black spear thrust out, like a coil of black light, with a powerful momentum like a rainbow, and pierced the arm of a monk on the 2nd floor of the foundation building. Suddenly a pitiful scream sounded. Call out. The spear was flicked, and blood fell to the ground. The monk who was stabbed fell to the ground clutching his wound. The details were incredible. Lin Xiaoyuan was also merciless. The yin evil claw found the right moment, grabbed a monk fiercely, and controlled him in place. The black water spirit snake decisively stepped forward to cooperate, and slapped him to the ground with a tail. The terrifying force directly shattered the bones, causing the monk to lose the ability to move immediately. After being attacked one after another, the other besieged people quickly retreated, looking at the 2 people in front of them in shock, not daring to move forward any further. This is a situation that has never been encountered before. Before, when the number of people under siege was even smaller, they could pin a few people to the ground and beat them, causing them to run around and have no strength to resist. But this time, the situation has completely changed. The opponent was leisurely and contented throughout the whole process. He didn't even take the elixir to restore his true energy, and just faced the siege of 6 foundation building monks. In fact, 2 people were injured in the end. Soon, the eyes of several people stayed on the Orchid Qi condensation formation and Huiwei vitality formation. The only change in this battle was that the opponent came up with two formations, and they were still two formations that they had never seen before. They could have ignored it before, but at this moment, they also clearly noticed something unusual. Such a huge improvement in strength was definitely not an ordinary thing. Even the fiery sword sect and others looked at this scene with surprised eyes. This was the first time in many days that they had the upper hand. As for the leader of the Jinlin sect, his face was extremely ugly. The changes in the battle situation were beyond his imagination. He never expected that they would lose this time. For a moment, both sides distanced themselves, facing off from a distance, and did not continue fighting. The three foundation building monks from the fierce sword sect quickly approached and also entered the formation. Soon, his expression changed rapidly. He looked at the two formations in surprise and said in disbelief, this. They also clearly felt that the true energy in their bodies was constantly recovering, the injuries on their bodies were scabbing quickly, and their overall condition was rapidly recovering. What a terrifying formation. The leader of the fierce sword sect was experienced and couldn't help but sigh. The leader of the Jinlin sect also immediately noticed the changes in his opponent. He had recovered a lot of strength from his weak and seriously injured state. In this situation, he did not dare to take risks easily and directly ordered a retreat with a dark face. This is the first time in history that they have been beaten back. After the enemy left, the atmosphere in the Lighting Sword sect became noticeably warmer. The leader of the Lighting Sword sect showed joy on his face. The gloom of many days was swept away, and the color returned to his face. Especially when he looked at the two formations on the ground, he couldn't help but touch them and sighed. These two formations are really not easy. If I feel right, they should be able to restore chi and heal at the same time. Injury. Not bad. Qin Chengyu nodded and said, it is equivalent to 50% of the effect of the second level elixir, rejuvenation pill. The healing ability is not weak, and the effect is continuous. Quote. Tisk, tisk, tisk. The leader of the fierce sword sect smacked his lips repeatedly and sighed. This is much better than the so-called attack and killing formations. With these two formations here, why should we worry about not being able to defend this station? Then, the leader of the fierce sword sect raised his eyes, looked at Qin Chengyu and the two of them and said, I heard that these two formations were sent by friends of the two Taoists. Yes, he is a formation master, and he should be refining formations in Donglin Market now. Next time if there is a chance, I must see it. And the effect of this formation must be reported to the Wang family truthfully, and we must not treat our two friends unfairly. The leader of the Lai Dao sect said sincerely. That night, a letter was quickly sent back to the Wang family in Qianyan Mountain. Moreover, the letter was sealed by special means, which was an urgent secret report, and it was soon passed to the hands of the Wang family. As the guardian of an important garrison, the leader of the Lai Dao sect has a special status and is qualified to report directly to the head of the Wang family. Wang Yunli looked at the letter in his hand and couldn't help frowning slightly, a formation that can restore spiritual energy and suppress injuries. Why haven't I heard of this formation? Did they deceive me? No, it shouldn't be. It seems that I have to ask Yuns about the situation. Late at night, Wang Yuns was asked to go to see the head of the family urgently. Along the way, Wang Yuns was confused. Hey, why did Brother Yunli suddenly come to me? Is there a problem? Is the efficiency of refining the formation too slow? Or? Until he arrived in front of Wang Yunli's house, Wang Yuns was a little uneasy. He asked carefully, Master, I wonder if you want me to come so late to discuss something important. Is there a problem with the formation? Wang Yunli did not answer, but asked directly, Yuns, do you know a formation in which the cultivator can restore spiritual energy and repair physical injuries? Wang Yuns was stunned, and after thinking for a moment, he said, restore spiritual energy. Treat injuries. The quality of this formation should be very high. Our Wang family should not have the inheritance of this formation diagram. No. Wang Yunli narrowed his eyes and handed the letter in his hand to Wang Yuns. After Wang Yuns checked it with doubt, his face changed slightly, and he said, really? Is the news from Lai Dao sect accurate? Lai Dao sect is loyal and will never betray our Wang family. You can trust it. Wang Yuns did not doubt it and said, I remember that 2 sets of formations were sent to Lai Dao sect recently, but I thought they were ordinary formations, so I didn't check the quality of the formations in detail. Isn't it the formation plate you refined? No, if I remember correctly, it should be the formation plate refined by the young man in Wugu Market. Wang Yuns said. The person from Wugu Market again. Wang Yunli said with some surprise. Wang Yuns nodded and said, however, I heard that he was supporting the formation to his friend. Is it possible that this report is inaccurate? Wang Yunli shook his head. The words of Lai Dao sect can be trusted, and the formation should be fine. I just want to know, can this formation be refined in large quantities? Lai Dao sect relied on these two sets of formations, with 7 foundation-building warriors, to resist the siege of 12 foundation-building warriors, and even fought back and injured 2 people in the end, while they themselves were intact. If each important station can be equipped with 2 sets of such formations, we can completely resist the attack of Qingshan sect, and even launch a counterattack. Wang Yun's expression kept changing, and finally said, as long as there is a formation diagram, refining should not be a problem. But this is probably someone else's unique formation. I'm afraid if I ask for it directly, I'll be rejected. Quote. Then buy it, pay some price, buy these 2 sets of formation diagrams, it will only benefit our Wang family. However, Wang Yuns did not agree directly to this, but a fierce look appeared between his eyebrows, and he said, Brother Yunli, this person is just a cultivator in Wugyufang City, we just deal with him, the formation diagram is ours, and it will not be leaked to other forces. Faced with this temptation, Wang Yuns showed a ruthless heart. Compared with spending a lot of money to buy, it is better to plunder directly, which is safer and more secure. But what greeted him was a cold snort from Wang Yunli. Yuns, no matter what decision you make, killing people to silence them is the worst option. Moreover, if the killing of the forces that have surrendered to you is leaked, how can the Wang family survive? Don't abandon the reputation of the Wang family for many years for the sake of temporary interests. This is not a long-term solution. Compared with making enemies, making friends is the right way. I hope you can understand. Wang Yunli looked at Wang Yuns meaningfully. Wang Yuns paused for a long time before saying, okay, then I will try my best to bribe him, Brother Yunli, don't worry. After Wang Yuns left, Wang Yunli sat in the house and shook his head helplessly. Yuns is a good kid in all aspects. He has a high talent for cultivation and is good at setting up formations, but his character is a little lacking. He is too ruthless and doesn't know how to leave a way out for himself. I hope he can handle this matter well after this reminder. And that friend Wugu seems to be really extraordinary. He has developed to this point in just a few years. It seems that he needs to make friends with him. If this goes well, you can also buy the formation map at a high price. It is a good thing to make a good relationship. I hope Yuns can handle it well. Leaving the room and walking into the deep night, Wang Yuns frowned and murmured in a low voice. Hiss. According to what my brother said, we must take down these 2 formations. If the other party does not give it, we can't force him with open means. We can only deal with him in secret. We must not ruin the reputation of the Wang family. Thinking, Wang Yuns shook his head and said, I hope that fellow Taoist Zhou will be a hero who knows the times. Otherwise, don't blame Wang's men for being ruthless. Spiritual Array Palace, Zhou Daocheng's residence. Zhou Daocheng walked out of the house with an unhappy face, and when he saw Wang Yuns standing outside the door, he still bowed respectfully. I wonder what Senior Wang wants to talk to me about. I was just refining the array below, and I hurried out when I saw Senior was so urgent. Zhou Daocheng's tone was not good, and he emphasized that the other party interrupted his retreat to express his dissatisfaction. Whenever someone is in retreat, a notice will be posted outside the door to prevent others from forcibly interrupting, which may lead to infatuation or other bad results. Generally speaking, if you know that someone is in retreat, you will not take the initiative to interrupt, which is a very impolite behavior. However, Wang Yuns knew that he was in retreat, but he still contacted him forcefully and asked him to come out, which not only made him weak, but also caused some damage to the array plate he was refining in his hand. However, facing the senior array master of the Wang family, he couldn't show too much anger, so he could only ask in a nice way. Wang Yuns smiled and said, I apologize for the offense. I hope Brother Zhou will forgive me. But I came here this time because I do need your help on something important. Zhou Daocheng was stunned and said with some confusion, what's the matter? If I can do it, it will be no problem to help 1 or 2. That's good, Wang Yuns said. Fellow Taoist Zhou, do you still remember the 2 sets of formation discs that were sent to the front line last time? Zhou Daocheng had a thought and roughly understood what was going on. It seemed that his own formation was working, much faster than expected. Gathering his thoughts, he replied, of course I remember. Do you dare to ask what the problem is? Wang Yuns smiled and said, fellow Taoist's formation is good. Although it is not as effective as the offensive formation, it is still pretty good. Before he finished speaking, Zhou Daocheng couldn't help but frown. He was naturally very clear about the effect of his formation. But listening to what Wang Yun said, it was obvious that he was deliberately suppressing the effective usage, which made Zhou Daocheng quite confused. In addition, the other party deliberately interrupted his retreat, which not only made his heart tremble, but also gave you a bad premonition. Then I wonder what senior means by saying this. Seeing Zhou Daocheng take the initiative to ask, Wang Yun said no more and said directly, "We, the Wang family, hope to buy out these two formations." Zhou Daocheng frowned and asked, "Senior Wang, can you tell me specifically what you mean?" Wang Yun explained patiently, "Our Wang family bought these two sets of formations. From now on, you cannot sell them to other forces, nor can you refine them privately. Can you tell me the price?" Zhou Daocheng finally understood what the other party meant, and it seemed that he was interested in his own formation. However, the other party's behavior of deliberately belittling the effect of the formation still made him a little unhappy. It seemed that this was also the other party's method of lowering the price. However, the other party's requirements seemed a bit strict. Not only could it not be sold to other forces from now on, but it could not be arranged by itself. Zhou Daocheng thought for a moment and felt that if the price offered by the other party was high enough, she could actually accept it even if the conditions were harsher. But after Wang Yun's finished stating the conditions, Zhou Daocheng's face became extremely ugly. "Little friend Zhou, we can offer 5,000 spirit stones, plus the goodwill of the Wang family, to purchase these two formations." As soon as these words came out, Zhou Daocheng's face turned green. The price of 5,000 spirit stones can no longer be described as low. When this number was reported, it almost had a sense of humiliation. As for the goodwill of the Wang family, Zhou Daocheng even sneered. Wugyufeng City took refuge with the Wang family, offered the Tululing Lodge, and helped catch the Qingshan sect's introversion. Is it possible that they haven't received the Wang family's goodwill until now? Zhou Daocheng remained calm and glanced at the man in front of him. His previous impression was completely broken at this moment. He asked in a deep voice, "Senior Wang, may I ask if this is a deal? Is it your own intention or the intention of the head of the Wang family?" Wang Yun's frowned slightly and replied, "It's what the Wang family means." Zhou Daocheng nodded and said, "I still need to think about this matter. How about I give you a reply tomorrow?" "Of course you can. Just think about it, fellow Taoist Zhou." Wang Yun's attitude was quite modest. After the people left, Zhou Daocheng's face turned completely gloomy and his eyes wandered uncertainly. At this time, he suddenly regretted taking out the Orchid Qi Condensing Formation and Kuiwei Vitality Formation. Now he was obviously the one who stood out and attracted Wang Jia's attention. If we just used ordinary formations, I'm afraid these things wouldn't happen. However, he was also a little strange. According to his understanding of the head of the Wang family, this person was not a stingy person. How could he do such an inhumane thing just for the sake of two sets of formations? Isn't this a deliberate enmity with oneself? And this Wang family formation master Wang Yun's. His words and deeds this time also opened his eyes. Previously, Zhou Daocheng was grateful to this person for rescuing him from Tang Yuanline's troubles, but he didn't expect that it was related to interests, so he could only act like this, which was really chilling. However, now that things have happened, Zhou Daocheng no longer feels regretful and is too lazy to think about Wang Yun's character. Instead, he is thinking about what to do next. Continue to raise prices. However, judging from the other party's attitude, on the surface, the tone is humble and gentle, but in fact, the attitude is tough. It should be difficult to continue to raise prices. Or sell the two formations directly for 5,000 spirit stones. But this approach really made him a little unwilling. But then, Zhou Daocheng's face suddenly changed slightly. He looked outside the house, vaguely aware of something abnormal, and tried to release the Wutu spiritual energy to check the surrounding situation. It was okay not to look. After he felt it, Zhou Daocheng's face darkened instantly. Haha, it seems there is no choice at all. The Wang family really want to do this. With his keen perception, he found that there were several strong foundation builders hiding 500 meters outside his house. Among them is Wang Yun's, who is building the 5th floor of the foundation. Under the current circumstances, many foundation building monks were sent to station outside the house. What did this mean? How could he not know? But he was even more puzzled. The Wang family's attitude towards him was not like this before. The head of the Wang family treated him very well. Why did such a big change happen? Really unable to understand the reason, Zhou Daocheng stopped thinking about it. The most important thing to consider now was how to get out of the current predicament. Needless to say, judging from the current situation, Yulin Qi condensing formation and Huiwei vitality formation have to be handed over even if they don't want to. Even the most important thing is how to save your own life. After thinking for a long time, Zhou Daocheng let out a long sigh. The next morning, Zhou Daocheng contacted Wang Yun's. In his perception, Wang Yun's could stay in place for a few minutes, and then slowly came to the house. He smiled and said, "As soon as you contacted me, fellow Taoist Zhou, I came over immediately. I guess fellow Taoist has made a decision." Zhou Daocheng nodded and said, "Yes, I agree with your conditions." "That's very good." A smile appeared on Wang Yun's face. He took out a storage bag from his arms and said, "This is 5,000 low-grade spiritual stones. Please keep it." Zhou Daocheng pursed his lips slightly, returned the storage bag, and said, "There is no need for the spirit stone. The head of the Wang family treats me well. These 2 sets of formations can be considered as gifts from me to the head of the Wang family." "Then thank you Taoist Zhou, I will convey your kindness to the head of the family." After saying this, Wang Yun's wanted to turn around and leave. However, Zhou Daocheng suddenly said, "Senior Wang, I have one more request." "What's the matter?" Wang Yun's asked, raising his eyebrows. Zhou Daocheng said straightforwardly, "My Taoist companion is already pregnant, so I plan to return to Wugyufang City. However, I will still refine the formation for the Wang family in the future, and someone will send it over when the time comes. I hope Senior will approve it." After Wang Yun's thought for a moment, he just said casually, "I can make the decision on this matter. From now on, I will just send you 5 sets of second-level formations every year, and I will exchange your contribution points for you as usual. Thank you for your help, Senior." Seeing that the other party agreed, Zhou Daocheng no longer hesitated, packed his luggage and left, and even didn't bother to exchange the contribution points. The attitude of the Wang family has already scared her. If he didn't hand over the Yulin condensation Qi array and Huiwei vitality array, or showed a refusal attitude, Wang Yun's would most likely attack him directly. Perhaps, before the 2 of them had no conflicts of interest, they could still maintain a friendly relationship with each other. But once a conflict of interest occurred, Wang Yun's directly wiped out all goodwill. This is the true portrayal of many cultivators. Zhou Daocheng has also gained some experience this time, and he really doesn't want to stay here any longer. Moreover, he also needs to consider the worst-case scenario. If this matter is the intention of Wang Yun's alone, it is not particularly troublesome, at most he can just avoid him. If this matter is the intention of the head of the Wang family, it will be a bit troublesome. He needs to consider whether to arrange a retreat in advance. Of course, according to the previous contacts, the possibility that the head of the Wang family wants to deal with him is relatively low. This person does not seem to be a stingy person. He is quite generous in his dealings with others and does have the style of the head of a purple mansion family. But people's hearts are unpredictable, and Zhou Daocheng has to act carefully. After leaving Donglin Market, Zhou Daocheng directly took the Qingfeng shuttle and returned to Wugu Market. In fact, he is more suitable to go to Union Island, which is safer and has a better training environment. It is also easier to observe the war between Qingshan sect and Wang Tang. However, he must be on guard to prevent the Wang family from tracking him, which will lead to the disclosure of Union Island. So, after thinking again and again, he chose to return to Wugu Market. And on the way, he sent a communication talisman to Lin Xiaoyuan, Qin Chengyu, and his eldest brother Zhou Daobai, respectively, to inform them of the general situation. The purpose of telling his eldest brother Zhou Daobai is to make him act carefully, and it is necessary to guard against the Wang family. The main purpose of informing Lin Xiaoyuan and Qin Chengyu of this matter was to consolidate the alliance. The 3 major forces combined were much stronger. Even if the Wang family wanted to take action, they would not go too far. What's more, the source of this matter came from the Yulin condensation Qi array and the Huiwei vitality array, and these 2 sets of arrays were finally delivered to Lin Xiaoyuan and Qin Chengyu, so this matter was naturally related to them. After doing all this, Zhou Daocheng set out on the road back to Wugu with lingering fear. He was frightened all the way and returned almost at the fastest speed. Originally thought that he could make a big profit with the help of the Wang family, but now it seems that only being strong is the kingly way, otherwise, if you are not careful, you will be crushed into powder by powerful forces. The most important thing now is to further improve his own strength. If he has the strength of the late stage of foundation building, then even the Wang family will not dare to act rashly against him. At the same time, it is necessary to continue to strengthen the strength of Wugu and Zhou family. In an increasingly volatile and turbulent environment, the current strength is not enough. There is a trump card that needs to be put on the agenda: spirit boat. It takes a long time for a cultivator to improve his strength, and it cannot be completed in just a few years or decades. Because for a cultivator in the early stage of foundation building, it normally takes at least 60 or 70 years to break through to the late stage of foundation building. It is an extremely long process, and the Zhou family can't wait. However, once a spirit boat is built, it will immediately greatly improve the strength of the Zhou family, and make many forces afraid to act rashly against the Zhou family, and even deliberately win over and please them. The matter of building a spirit boat is not his Zhou Daocheng's fantasy, but there is indeed a possibility of success. There are actually 3 difficulties in building a spirit boat. First, materials. Second, the inheritance of the spirit boat. The other 3 are the formation master, the talisman master, and the weapon refiner. At present, materials can be obtained from 2 aspects. The first is the purple spirit bamboo, which is of extremely high quality. After using the second strand of innate purple chi, the size has also increased a lot, which is enough to make small and medium-sized spirit boats. Secondly, ironwood is still a very good choice. Although the quality of ironwood is not as good as that of purple air green bamboo, there are more of them and the trees are larger in size. Even if there is some damage during the construction process, it is completely acceptable. More importantly, in the process of snatching ironwood, it may be possible to directly destroy the Chen family and plunder their experience in building spirit boats, which may speed up the construction. The inheritance of the spirit boat is particularly important. Although it has the inheritance of Xuanian sect, it takes a lot of time to study from scratch. If you have some experience, you can naturally save a lot of joy. Finally, the most important formation masters, weapon refiners, and talisman masters are also not without solutions. Zhou Daocheng himself is a formation master, and he is a formation master of high level. It is not difficult to engrave formations on the spirit boat. And the 4th brother Zhou Daoqi has successfully broken through the foundation and became a second-level weapon refiner. The only thing missing is the talisman master. However, Zhou Daocheng has the talisman inheritance, and Zhao Yunji has successfully built a foundation. If he devotes himself to the study of talismans, he may also reach the second-level talisman master. Although his level is not as good as Zhou Daocheng and Zhou Daoqi, it is enough. Moreover, in the process of building a spirit boat, the use of talismans is relatively small. In the construction of a spirit boat, the role of the weapon refiner is greater than that of the array master, and the role of the array master is greater than that of the talisman master. In the final analysis, the spirit boat is still a kind of existence similar to a magic weapon, but it is a super large special magic weapon, and the process uses formations and talismans. The main body is actually the means of refining equipment. At the same time, the Disha sect and the Spirit Snake sect must have some high-level refiners or talisman masters, who may not reach the second-level level, but can also participate in it. Zhou Daocheng thought in his heart and kept this matter in mind. This is the fastest way to improve strength now, and it can escort the Zhou family in the future. And he can be sure that Lin Xiaoyuan and Qin Chengyu will definitely accept the idea of building a spirit boat and strongly support it. As for why he must pull these 2 people instead of building a spirit boat by himself, Zhou Daocheng also has his own considerations in his heart. The spirit boat technology is very precious, and the spirit boat itself is also priceless. It is very likely to be coveted by other forces. If there is only the force of Wugu, it is still a little weak after all, and it is very likely that it will not be able to withstand such great pressure. However, if there is support from the earthly demon sect and the spiritual snake sect, then the overall force will become very strong, enough to deal with most of the open and secret attacks. Moreover, the number of purple spirit bamboo is too small, so it is necessary to obtain iron wood, which will inevitably involve dealing with the Chen family. Will inevitably involve